one thing before I get off this. The mother who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me, mother.
Listen to me. Listen to me, mother. Hi, how are you? I am Captain Garrett. This is the Captain's Cast. Welcome aboard. This is the Captain's Cast on Swords and Starships Channel. And let me know how the sound quality is. Let me bring in that mic a little more. There we go. How are you doing on a Sunday? All the fine people out there, this is your premier vessel for entertainment, culture, exploration, fantasy, sci-fi, space opera, you name it. Sword and sorcery. We like it all here, and we have a lot to do. And do you like the theme? I am all in. I am all in on Barbenheimer. I have seen Barbie, and it is amazing. It is just an amazing movie. I've got my mocha drink. I'm just excited to talk about what a great movie it is. I've been wrong about everything, folks. I've been wrong about everything. No, which is to say, I have suffered for you. I have suffered for you, my dear audience. Now, why did I see this movie? I know. I said, no chance that I'm going to see this movie. And there was none. There was none. Because this movie was not made for me, Barbie. It just was not. It's not. Look, it's so feminist. It's so woke. Well, who cares? Let the, if that's what women want, let them go have it. I'm not trying to make baby showers more masculine. I'm not trying to go to baby showers and say, geez, there's not much for men to do around here. It's like, look, we all have to have our things, okay? We have to have our interest groups. We have to have our little places we go to be alone, places to be with our buds. And then, there's things we can do together. But there's just different strokes for different folks. So there's no reason for me to see a movie that even if it were excellent, I would never want to see. But then the damn thing just went ahead and made like tons and tons and tons of money. And so your captain, well, really, that's not actually the reason I went to see it. It made lots of money. Who cares? For your captain, anyway. I'm sure there's lots of people that do. But then I kept hearing conflicting opinions. I kept hearing, people I usually am pretty simpatico with. And there's all this debate. Is it, it wasn't that woke. People are just reading into it. Oh, it's not that feminist. And I have to say, your captain, I cannot not have an opinion. I cannot, when there is disagreement, the commanding officer of this vessel must lodge his opinion. Absolutely. So we're going to talk about Barbenheimer. We're going to talk about Barbie. My review. Okay, I think, have we... Yeah, well, we'll leave the mood lighting up for a little longer. So see how long I can take it. Then we're going to talk about Secret Invasion. The total demolition of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is complete, folks. It is complete. It is total. It is thorough. It is absolutely irrevocable. It's Hi, Tom. How you doing? Tom is in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. So, yeah, we'll talk about the total demolition of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, I have a couple of points I would like to address in some different quarters of the internet. So, anyhow, okay, that's. Hang on, let's fix a couple things. This is a proper vessel. There we go. Ah, that's better. That's better. All better now. All right. Some Barbie. Oh, maybe we just go back to there it is. There it is. Because we're gonna talk about Barbie. We're gonna talk about Barbie. So I went to see this movie, as in I paid for a theater ticket, and certainly did not look for other means of viewing the film. Uh, and well, I will say this: the first 20 minutes of this movie, maybe 20, 25 minutes, I was kind of I was halfway on the side. I was leaning towards, you know what? People are making too big of a deal. Ben Shapiro is making too big of a deal out of this, as usual. By the way, Ben Shapiro's movie reviews are the worst on the internet. I mean this seriously. I can't, of all the movie reviewers possible, it's like listening to your crusty, angry grandfather critique your movies. It's the worst thing in the world. I hate Ben Shapiro movie reviews. Not that I watch them, but I've heard one or two. Anyway, so I'm watching this debate on Friday Night Tights. Hat Tip Nerdrotic and Shad of Shadiversities over there saying, oh, this is terrible. It's an awful feminist nightmare. It's intersectional feminism. I hear the angriest man on the internet, Ryan Cannell, of all people, actually kind of defending it. So, oh, it's not that bad. It's kind of entertaining. It's tongue in cheek. It's not that serious. I'm like, what? This doesn't compute. Then I kind of hear Gary's kind of in the middle. He's like, well, it's exactly what we thought it was, but who cares? It's Barbie. And I'm like, well, see, that seems pretty much where I'm at. Well, I have to have an opinion about this. So I'm watching it. It's 20 minutes of really clever, like setting up. Well, first of all, the set design in this is really pretty brilliant, I have to say, because they recreate like the Barbie dream house, and it's very fun. It's very colorful. The character, there's a little voiceover introduction, which is, look, you don't need something fancy with a movie like this. We're not looking, you're not looking for fancy. It's like the Godzilla versus Kong movie. Look, we want to see kaijus fight. We do not need to overdo it with plot and all this and all that stuff. Hail, Star Fury, how's it going? Welcome to the chat. Permission to come aboard, not required, but always granted. And so I'm thinking, this could be really fun. You know what I was thinking? I'll tell you exactly. Barbie could have been the equivalent of what Super Mario Brothers was to Super Mario. This movie, I mean, from a financial perspective, I guess it already is. But I'm talking about just the story, like the story and how it resonates. Yeah, maybe that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the feeling you have when you leave the theater. I went to Super Mario Brothers, and I'm telling you, it is the most happiness I've seen in a movie theater all year. Maybe in the last 2 years, to be quite honest with you. And when I say happy, it is in the most like absolute literal sense of the word. Happiness is what it was like Quark at Deep Space Nine talking about the Federation and root beer. It's so happy. It's like that was what Super Mario Bros. It's so colorful, it's so beautiful, it's so happy and fun, the whole movie. And Barbie could have been that. Barbie could have been that, and it would have been for me, even if it was. Look, Super Mario Brothers was Super Mario Brothers is for me. But Barbie would not have been for me, even if it was that good. But it was, I have to say, it was very close. It was very close to achieving that kind of happiness, unfortunately. After about 25 minutes, it devolves into, maybe it's less than 25. I want to say it's like somewhere at the 15, 20-minute mark. About the moment when Barbie herself says, hey, does anyone feel like death? I'm like, that's literally, you could mark it. That's the moment when the movie becomes one of the most depressing, soul-crushing, grinding films I've ever watched. I mean this. I was beginning to feel a sort of nihilistic existential horror as I watched the rest of this movie. Not because of the movie, because there's something about this film, and I can't even totally put my finger on it. There's kind of the obvious factors, but there's something else about this film that makes me feel depression. It is depression to watch this movie. And that's saying something because I've seen a lot of junk. I have seen a lot of garbage this year. The Flash was pretty depressing, but maybe it has something to do with the fact that the entire story is that Barbie is living in a kind of fever dream nightmare and she's waking up from the Matrix. And she's decided that she can't stay. It's sort of like she's living in a Groundhog's Day. Everything is the same. Every single day ends exactly as it started, and it's over and over and over. And she's becoming aware of this, and she wants out. And so so basically, it's a movie about suicidal Barbie. In fact, it's so funny. One of the main characters in the film literally is designing a new Barbie, and she's calling it Everyday Barbie, who struggles with depression and suicidality. It's like, oh my God, this is my question. Because I know women like this film. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, I would say to most women, go watch this film. You'll love it. You'll love it. But is this what you want? Like, is this really what you want? I swear to God. Like, I feel like for this kind of thing, just go watch The Handmaid's Tale for your dose of like misery and horror and existential dread. Go watch The Handmaid's Tale. And then when you want something happy and fun, you should be able to just watch a dumb toy movie about Barbie. Why not? But it seems to me that women are not enjoying themselves unless they're watching a movie that depresses them. That's the only thing I can figure as I'm watching this movie. They don't want to see anything ever that portrays life as simply happy. Why not? I do. I like to see things that are happy once in a while. Yes, I like my existential horror, which was this movie. And then I like to go see something happy once in a while. Of course, for me, we all have our different definition of happy. So what was actually good about this movie? Well, the set design in the Barbie world is pretty brilliant. They do this almost perfect blend of practical sets and then a little bit of CGI here and there and kind of a style that makes everything look like you're literally looking at the world that's in like the box, And that seems to all work really well. It all seems to get along. I didn't feel, with a lot of these movies when they try and do this kind of half in, half out fantasy, I struggle with it because I begin to feel this sort of, existential fever dream nightmare kind of feeling, like what I got with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This one actually does it pretty well. There's just enough clear rules in this world that I can understand the difference between the human world and the Barbie world and how do they connect. It's kind of like Toy Story. It's got that there's a dividing line that makes sense between the real world and the Barbie world. And in the Barbie world, it's like the Barbie world. And that's all very well done. And you actually have quite a few little save the cat moments, which would be little moments that endear you to the characters. For Margot Robbie's Barbie, and she is gorgeous. She was born to play this character. She was born to play this character. And then you have Ryan Gosling, who basically stole the show, I think. I think he was the best part of the movie. And he's the villain. He's the villain. He's a poor, hopeless Ken who's in love with Barbie, wants to spend the night with her. And of course, she asks him, but what would we do? He's like, well, I don't really know. But unfortunately, she doesn't. She does not return his affections. I will say I was quite surprised at how many laugh lines there were in the movie. There's a lot of actually pretty good humor in it. There's a lot of good comedy. You can hear the audience laughing at a lot of great lines in it. it was so close. If it could have just had fun. But here's the problem with Barbie. Barbie is a film that hates two things. Uh, it hates men. I mean, it hates them. Like this movie hates them. But the thing it hates even more than men, this movie, is Barbie. This film hates Barbie. Now, what do I mean by that? Because obviously people are going to see it. There's an argument you can make that, well, that's satire, that's parody. It's just, lighten up. It's just a movie about it's having fun with itself. It's making fun of itself a little bit. And I'm sympathetic to that argument because there were parts of the movie where I felt that it having a certain sense of awareness about itself was fine, and I think having a debate in the movie about Barbie and her impact on women and is it an idealized life and all that stuff, all of that I really don't actually object to as plot elements. They all actually could have worked really well. The problem is they just took it to way too dark of a place. Like, how about instead of, is anyone else thinking about death? Why couldn't it be more about, something like, something seems wrong with the world. I want to I want to have a new adventure. I don't want every day to be the same. I think that would have been enough motivation for the character that she wants to go on an adventure. I think that would have been a classic Joseph Campbell style story for Barbie that could have worked really well. And take Toy Story, for example, which deals with very intense emotional themes. It even deals with a psychopathic child that tortures toys. And yet, somehow, the movie is mostly a happy, positive kind of movie about toys who just want to do what they were made to do, which is make their kid happy and friendship. And I think you could have had that with Barbie, but they just had every single scene almost had to be saying, "We don't condone this." Like, yes, Barbie is cute and she's loves fashion and she's the doll that all the girls have played with all these years, but we don't condone that. We understand that she creates unrealistic beauty standards and we don't want you to enjoy this movie too much. Is the feeling I got from it. I really got the feeling that this movie would be ashamed of itself if I just had a great time watching it. It was obsessed. It was obsessed with essentially debunking Barbie as a good toy for anyone to play with. I'm serious about this. I really take away from this film it is a indictment of Barbie as a toy, Barbie as a concept, Barbie as a driver of consumerism, and I'm going to prove it to you. I literally transcribed a few lines from this movie to read to you verbatim because I wanted to. I wanted you to hear exactly what it says. So, but that being said, there is a lot of great comedy. Margot Robbie and Ken are excellent. What a shame that they couldn't have, and I'm not saying they had to have a full-blown romance or anything, but if they could have at least had a buddy love story where they're best friends at the end, I think that would have been charming. I think they had great chemistry either as a friendship, as a buddy adventure, or I really think it should have just been them on a buddy adventure. I think that would have been a better story. It does, I still don't, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with men and women falling in love. Okay. But that being said, I don't think you even needed a romantic story. You could have just had it be a buddy love story. But they couldn't even allow that. It's basically a story about Ken being an incel and being told by Barbie he needs to go find himself. So he's off to a Marvel movie to go find himself, like Thor and the rest of the boys. Why couldn't it just be great admiration, a captain's salute to the Super Mario Brothers movie. My opinion of Super Mario Brothers just went up like 2 points because God bless Nintendo for just saying, you know what, we love Mario. We ain't gonna make it for a modern audience. We're not gonna critique Mario and his cultural footprint. We're not going to have a bunch of meta humor about whether video games in the 80s were rotting children's brains. We're just going to tell a story that loves Mario Brothers, that loves Mario Kart, that loves Browser, that loves Nintendo, and that loves our fans. And we're going to make people happy. And to all the people, like myself, who wanted a more detailed and nuanced story, screw you. This is about Mario and Mario Kart. You're either in or you're out. And I respect that. I admire it. And it's what Barbie should have been. So let's just get into what sucks. What just sucks about this movie. One huge problem with it, we're talking about Barbie here on the... A friend of mine asked for this, okay? So blame him. Silverback, you better be in the chat somewhere. All right, we're gonna captain's colors, flying the captain's colors now. There we go. So we're talking about Barbie on the Captain's Cast today, Swords and Starships, and please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And you know something? This is a momentous episode. This episode is number 24, which is one of my favorite all-time numbers because it is also the title of one of my favorite all-time TV series, 24. Hail, Wrangler. Welcome to the chat. Permission to come aboard, never required, always granted, sir. And, I have a little tribute to 24. And damn this movie, Barbie, for having, my 24th episode is the one where I have a pink background. Jeez. But hey, what can you do? If you can't beat them, join them. Am I right? Or am I right? When it's in the Barbie world, when it's just having fun, when it's just Barbie being Barbie and Ken being Ken and some laughs about that, there's a lot of great jokes that make a lot of sense. Like there's a great gag about, the Kens, they hang out on the beach. So they don't really know what to do with themselves. They call it just beaching. So they're like, and then they want to have a competition. They say, oh, let's have a beach off. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll beat you at a beach off. I'll beat you off right now. And then one of the other Kens is like, oh yeah, not if I beat you off first. Like nobody's beaching anyone off. So there's great opportunity for this movie to just be fun and happy and please the crowd. But then they enter the real world. And when they get to the real world, it turns into what I can only describe as a kind of awkward, like film school film. Do you know what I mean? It's like a film school project. Like once they're in the real world, it feels like it's improv, but it's not good improv. There's a lot of extras that show up in scenes to play off of Ken or to play off of Barbie, and they're just meant to be ordinary people encountering them. Something about it feels off. It feels like I can almost just see the cameras pointing at this random person who has no name. She has no name, just a random stranger. It's almost like those Borat things where he walks up to people in the street and makes them part of, or, Bad Grandpa, where it's like, it's real people interacting with Johnny Knoxville dressed up as a grandpa or something. It started to have that feeling to me, but it's actually a scripted movie, which is not a good thing. And that's part of what made it depressing. Also, the movie seems to misunderstand that one of the great things it had going for it is that the Barbie world is the Barbie world. And then when Barbie enters the real world, she is now a fish out of water. This is actually kind of an out-of-the-bottle story. She becomes a fish out of water, and she's exploring Los Angeles. Now, this is a great opportunity for comedy, for an interesting adventure, for telling a story of a larger-than-life character in the real world. And so I would think, and I imagine you would think, that the real world should actually be the real world. And partly it is, and partly it is not. When they enter the Mattel building, they're now in another crazy, wacky, like Willy Wonka fictional world. And Will Ferrell, of all people, plays the CEO. And it's funny because literally not one line he has is actually funny, but he is so naturally funny that you kind of laugh anyway, even though nothing he's actually doing or saying in the movie is clever or very. Like, if any other actor were delivering the lines, it wouldn't be funny. It's just like watching Jim Carrey. It's like he's doing Jim Carrey. And so that confuses the lore of the film a lot. And it ruins what I think the best thing the film had going for it, which is, what if Barbie showed up in the real world and just interacted with the real world? And of course, she shows up and this she's basically on the Strand in, like, I don't know, it's probably Santa Monica maybe, or I want to say it's probably like Santa Monica where she's at, and it's people roller skating near the beach, and this is L.A. Okay, this is L.A. Of course, every single male she encounters in this scene is a slavering, foaming at the mouth beast who is practically on the verge of, like, threatening assault the minute that he sees her, as if there's not any other beautiful women in all of LA or Santa Monica. It's ridiculous. But of course, men in the, they're immediately like rabid dogs setting upon her as she enters the real world. And I'm thinking, this is why these feminist woke movies are so gaslighting. This is why they're so gaslighting, because I'm not offended by the idea of a story from a feminine point of view that is talking about things that women experience that men don't understand. I think that's fine. I think that's a good thing. I'm here for it. I'm interested in that. And I think it could have been very funny and interesting to have. There's like one scene where she walks up to a bunch of she sees a construction site, and in the Barbie world, all the Barbies are construction workers, don't you know? Because they're all career women. So she thinks, oh, a construction site. That's a great place to find intelligent, enlightened people to talk to. And of course, she walks up to all the construction workers, and they're catcalling her, and they're whistling at her, and it's all that stuff. But even so, it was funny. It was a great gag. They just took it way too far. They took it beyond the pale of reality. It's like that line in She-Hulk when they're trying to portray a couple of chauvinistic men, and so he's like, "Oh, I see a hot chick. I'm gonna go talk to it." Said no man ever. I'm like, what I'm saying is, if it were grounded and just a little bit, just dial it down to reality just a couple notches, it would have been funny, it would have been entertaining, nobody would have had a problem with it, least of all your captain. What I have a problem with is the film. It's talking out of both sides of its mouth, because on the one hand, it acts like it's a parody, but then it leans into these depressing, dark, sad, miserable themes. So the gist of the movie is that they enter the real world, and Barbie has to find the girl that's playing with her, because the girl that's playing with her is very sad, and Barbie is also very sad. And if she doesn't fix this, the rift that's allowing travel between the two worlds is going to become unstable, and the Barbie world will spill over into the real world. Who cares? It's bullshit magical explanation, but it's fine. So she has to go find this little girl and, like, fix her life, which could have been very charming, I think, as a story. Meanwhile, Ken enters the real world and discovers in this world he can actually have respect. Like, he can have respect because someone walks up to him and says, "Do you know the time?" And he's like, and she says, "Do you have the time, sir?" And he's like, "You respect me." She's like, "Yeah, could you give me the time, please?" So, again, it's like a film school project, these scenes. Still funny. So Ken discovers patriarchy. Ugh. Ugh. And of course, he gets a bunch of books about patriarchy, and he decides to install a patriarchy in Barbie Land. And the whole conflict of the film centers around the Barbies trying to take power back from the Kens, who have turned their world into a kind of Handmaid's Tale. That's so stupid. Who cares? What am I even talking about? Why am I talking about this? Silverback? How dare you? This is your fault. Star Fury says, "What's wrong with Barbie? Everything." Star Fury, I respect your opinion mightily, sir, and I respectfully disagree. I actually think this film could have had. It could. I'm not saying it would have been for me. I'm not saying I would have enjoyed it personally. I'm saying it could have had that Super Mario aspect of like it's just fun for mothers and daughters to go to the movie. Look, mothers and daughters should have movies. They should have movies they go to. They have fun, just like dads and sons should have movies they can go to. You know, everybody should be happy. That's all I want. That's all your captain wants. I just want, look, I really feel like as a male observer of this film, which is not made for me and does not care about my opinion of it, I can only react to it by saying, uh, ladies, what would make you happy? Like, just tell me. Just honest to God, on behalf of all males in the human race, what would make you happy? Just, could I please understand? Let me explain. Okay. So the Barbies have decided to retake their kingdom, which is now the Kendom, and they're going to. I do like that Ryan Gosling renames as Ken renames his house the Mojo Dojo Casa House, and they're flying off the shelves. They're selling like hotcakes. Anyway, so the women are plotting how they're going to take back Barbie Land from the Kens, and Barbie herself is crying, and she's saying, "Well, I'm not pretty. I'm not happy. I'm not stereotypical Barbie anymore, and I can't do anything." And the mother, who's actually the one playing with the Barbie in the real world, she and her daughter have entered the Barbie world, and they're trying to rally the Barbies to the cause. And so the mother, her name is Gloria, I think. Oh, what's no. I'm looking for character names. It's really difficult to go through an IMDb page where there's like 20 Kens and 20 Barbies. That's Gloria. Okay, I was right. So Gloria, the mother, is giving this I would call the sort of, what beat would this be in the Blake Snyder beat sheet? This would be sort of after the all is lost moment. This is it's the moment after that. It's the break into 3. It's towards the climax of the film. And it's really the point where the heroes are being rallied. In Independence Day terms, this is Bill Pullman's, good morning. Good morning. Today is Independence Day. This is really the moment of the film that we're at here in the Barbie film. And so she says, Gloria, you are amazing. It's one of those you are amazing and pretty and you can do anything you put your mind to kind of things, which is fine, whatever. But then Gloria starts going off on a big old rant about all the things wrong with being a woman and how hard it is to be a woman. She says, it is impossible. It is impossible to be a woman. And I'm like, all right, here we go. You lay it on me. Tell me everything. And this is, I wrote down her list of complaints, and let me tell you something. It's as long as my arm. Okay. It is as long as my arm. Complaint number 1. It is impossible to be a woman. We always have to be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. What does that mean? I've never placed this demand on any woman. You have to be extraordinary. I've never said that. I mean, everybody should be whatever. Who cares? That's not even next complaint on the list of women's complaints. The female species. These are their list of complaints. Are you ready for this, men? Gather, all hands on deck. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You have to say what you want. You have to say that you want to be thin, but you have to say you want to be healthy. I think I miswrote that. It's you can't say that you want to be thin, but you have to say that you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. Okay. Complaint number 3. As a woman, you have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. See, this is why so I start to check out with the stuff like stuff like this, because if you want more money at work, you have to ask for it. I know this because I've asked for money. It's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant to say, I believe I deserve a raise. These are the contributions I brought to the table. It's confrontational. It's confrontational. Because if the boss has basically said, has not offered you a promotion or a raise, and you've been at that pay, there is sort of an implicit, unsaid statement that I'm paying you what you deserve, which means that if you ask for more, you are essentially, in one way of looking at it, confronting the boss and saying, I want more. And that's not easy to do. And I submit to you that I believe there is data to show this, but I think women are less likely to do that. Doesn't mean they're any less capable or that they can't or shouldn't. Yes, you should ask for money. Yes, it is crass whether a woman or a man does it. You have to do it. You have to get what you're worth. But anyway, complaint number 4. These are verbatim, folks. This is verbatim from the film. You have to be the boss, but you can't be mean. Let me just do it in the voice. Like, you have to be the boss, but you can't be mean. And men can be the boss and can be mean, and everyone will like them. What are you talking about? Everyone knows that the villain in every film is a man who's a boss that's an asshole. Look, what do 90% of all people in the workforce complain about? Their asshole boss. Nobody likes a mean boss. Who on the planet is like, oh, well, my boss is mean, but he's a man, so I'm cool with it. Yeah, brah, I'm cool with it. I love a mean boss. That's like my favorite thing. Dude, being a dude is so awesome. You get to be an asshole to everyone with zero consequences. Men never have consequences for being an asshole to their subordinates at work. Not a thing. Doesn't happen. And I feel sorry. I feel sorry for women that when they're the boss, they're not allowed to be mean. Why would you want that? Why would you want to be mean as a boss? Why is that a desire? Why is that such an injustice? You can't be mean to your subordinates. Okay, Kamala Harris. Jeez. Like, all right, would it make you feel better if you could abuse your employees? Now, there, you're equal with men now. What is that? What are they? All right. Look, I have been a boss. I am a boss, and I can tell you that the worst I ever was in leadership was when I first started out, and I thought I could just give orders and have them followed. And let me tell you something. It was a dismal failure. I was hated, and my life was hell. And it wasn't until I learned some important and valuable lessons that real leadership, I wasn't an asshole, but I just thought that sometimes you gotta just lay down the law. And it's like there is a difference between power and force. Force is what bad leaders use. That would be being mean. That's what shitty, insecure, ineffective leaders use. And by the way, they don't get a lot done. They get the bare minimum out of their employees, I guarantee you. Leaders use power. And power is where the things you want are attracted to you because you are a servant leader. Because you lead by example. Because you give your people hope. Because you show your people how they can win with you. Because you hear them when they have ideas. You give them a place to vent their concerns. So no, if you think that being mean and being a good boss are the same thing, whether you're a man or a woman, you're an idiot. And I feel sorry for you. Complaint number 5. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. Oh, are we still on this one? You have to lead. This is a woman, again, in the Barbie film, complaining about how hard life is as a woman. Because as a woman, you have to lead. Said who? Like, is that true for men? As a man, you have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. So she's saying, I want to be able to lead and also just squash other people's ideas and screw them over. Sure, okay, cool. That's what your definition of being a leader is? We need more women in leadership. We sure do. This just circles right back to my earlier point. If you want to be a good leader, and you think that being a good leader is that because all of your ideas are the best ideas, you are going to not get a lot done and you're going to suck at it. Because when you're a leader, your resource is your people. And if you don't listen to them, if you don't allow them to have a space for their creativity, you are going to be leaving on the table such valuable leaps forward as you can't imagine. And this is, by the way, most God, I can't even believe I say most human beings, that would be both genders, struggle with this because the ego gets in the way, because your ego makes you think that you are the leader because you have the best ideas and that you should be talking and everyone should be listening. It's actually quite the opposite. As a leader, you should be listening more than you're talking. But if I were coaching a woman on how to be a good leader, and I said you should listen more than you talk. Oh, so I'm just supposed to be silent and not heard, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen? Well, screw you. I want to talk more. I want to squash other people's ideas and be mean, like a man does. Okay. Complaint number 6. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. What? I am not aware of, like, do men complain about this? Like, oh man, this chick won't shut up about her kids. But I know dudes that are like this. I know dudes that won't shut up about their kids. Who's objective? I mean, generally, if I don't want to hear about someone's kids, it's not gender specific. It's I just don't want to hear about it. What is the big deal here? Okay, this is made up. This isn't a thing. Now, I'm not aware of this as a meme in our culture, but I move on. Demand number 7. Complaint, I should say. Complaint number 7 in the women's list of complaints in the Barbie movie. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, but if you point that out, you're complaining. Again, what does that even mean? You have to answer for men's bad behavior. Let's unpack this. So what she's saying is, it is expected of women that they will answer for men's bad behavior. Is this like apologizing for your boyfriend saying something rude at a party? I'm trying to figure out what this is referring to. Because to my mind, there's plenty of dudes that have to apologize for their girlfriend's drunk behavior at a party, don't you think? Listen, I'm really sorry that my girlfriend, was going, where is the Family Guy? I gotta find the Family Guy clip on this. The drunk girl at the party no one wants to talk to. I literally endured this recently. So anyway, you have to answer for men's bad. I don't know what that means. In what way are women called to account for men's bad behavior? If you ever hear of like a man who's abusing his wife, I feel like our culture, at least, is united against that man. Like, our culture is united against men who abuse women. I mean, there's even a movie that's, adjacent to this issue called Sound of Freedom. And while it focuses specifically on children, there is a pandemic of women being trafficked. And I feel, I could be wrong, the wokies may disagree, but I feel that most of us are united in our opposition to that and are not saying, well, women need to answer for this. Hey, women, why are you being trafficked so much? But also shut up about it. We don't want to hear it. This is nonsensical. Okay. Complaint number 8. You have to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood, but always stand out and always be grateful, even though the system is rigged, and find a way to acknowledge that, but always be grateful. If this is grinding you down, believe me, that's this film. It was, dude, it was a grinder. Watching this, I'm like, oh my god, I can't take much more of this. It's so. And it. If you want to listen to women complain for 2 hours, it does it every dude. I get enough of that at home. But that's actually not my point here. My point is, do women want this? Is this what women want to see in their Barbie movie? I mean, if they do, they're welcome to it. I'm just saying. I'm just asking questions. You know, Chrissy Mayer, of whom I'm a great fan, loves this movie. And she thinks that, it's satirical, it's fun, it's just, old school, uh, Mary Tyler Moore kind of feminism. It's fine. And I'm like, but it's so depressing. Really? Like, this isn't what I want when I go to see, a Spider-Man movie. I don't want to see depressed Spider-Man. Of course, Peter Parker often is depressed, but that's neither here nor there. I want to see a Spider-Man who gets a. Just, you know what? I totally lost the plot on that point. The captain withdraws his point. I'm just saying, is this what you want, Chrissy? I'm just saying. But anyway. So let's unpack this. You have to stay pretty for men. Mostly true. That is a demand I have. All women are to stay pretty for me. I demand that. But not so pretty that you tempt them. That's true. I don't like being tempted by a woman's prettiness. It's very uncomfortable for me. It's very uncomfortable. But not so much that you threaten other women. Now we have gotten to it. Now we have gotten to it, haven't we? Haven't we? This is not a list of complaints about men's demands of women. This is a list of complaints about women's demands of women. Why else would you have this phrase about we are not supposed to be so pretty that we tempt men too much, or that we threaten other women? Because you're supposed to be part of the sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful. Even though the system is rigged, and find a way to acknowledge that, but always be grateful. Oh, I got news for you, babe. System is rigged for all of us. It's rigged for all of us. There's an old phrase that dates back 100 years. War is old men talking and young men dying. Do you think the system is any less rigged for all the young men that were thrown into the meat grinders of World War I and World War II and Korea and Vietnam and Iraq and all the other? It's like, do you think that system is rigged in favor of all those young men at the beginning of their lives who are going straight into a meat grinder, literally being just fodder for the guns? This is why. Look. Everyone deserves a space to vent. Everyone deserves, a pity party once in a while. Okay, we're all human. We all need a day. I get that. I have no objection to that. I really have no problem with that. The problem is this shit it has now been exported to all of the films I like. It's been exported to every single MCU film. It's been exported to Indiana Jones. It's been exported to Star Wars. The fourth is female. It's been exported to everything. They're trying to export it to Warhammer, for Christ's sake. They are exporting it to Warhammer 40,000, folks. Do you understand what I'm saying here? This list of complaints is about to go before the Emperor in the 401st century. That is my objection. Women are having a pity party, and they are exporting it to every film they could possibly get their hands on. And so, when I hear this list of complaints, again, I ask you, women, babe, sweetheart, what do you want from us? What do you want? Just tell us what you want, and we'll give it to you so you'll go away. We will, I swear. But that's the problem. They're not appeasing us. Let me rephrase that. They are not arguing with us. I think they're arguing with each other. Because all this shit about the sisterhood and beauty standards and don't talk about your kids, this sounds like women arguing with women, is what this sounds like to me. I am not aware of dudes spending a lot of time thinking about any of this stuff. Men, let me explain. Let me help the ladies that are theoretically in this audience out. Let me help them out. Men are not complicated, okay? We have simple needs, we have simple desires. And when we feel appreciated and loved and desired by women, that's like 90% of all that we want in life. Well, we build empires on the side, but like that's it. Like it's not a lot of there's not a lot of complication to it. Now, this is the other thing though too. I also have no objection to a movie that is inviting the male audience to hear out what it's like to be a woman. I'm fine with that. I have no issue with that. But this is not a two-way street. That is the real problem here, is that they and look, this line about you have to be liked all the time. Oh, you know what? I didn't even get to the rest of it. Okay, let me pause on that because I'm getting to that. So I thought the list was over. I forgot. It goes on. Demand number 9. As a woman, you are never to get old, be rude, show off, be selfish, fall down, fail, show fear, or get out of line. Well, the last one's true. But the rest, but like you're never to, okay, you're not allowed to get old. You're not allowed to be rude. Oh, but men are. Oh, yeah, everyone loves a rude man at the post office. That's everybody's favorite thing. You're never allowed to show off. Women are not allowed to show off? What the hell am I watching then? Like, women don't show off? Have you heard of a thing at bars called Ladies' Night? Have you heard of an expression called "This is a sausage fest"? Where are the ladies? Nobody wants women to show off. This is women talking to women. Men like it when women show off. What are you talking about? Have you heard of a thing called Miss America? You're never to be selfish. All I ever hear is women talking about self-care is about being a little selfish when you have to be. We are living in the selfish movement of our time. Western civilization has fallen into a death spiral of solipsism and narcissism. Everyone in our society is being encouraged to be selfish. Every superhero film is no longer about self-sacrifice and doing what is best for the greater good or saving people's lives who are innocent while putting your own life on the line. No, every narrative now, male or female in superheroes, is about finding yourself. It's about being accepted and belonging and feeling affirmed, validated, and represented. Every superhero narrative now is about their identity as the superhero. Hello, Miles Morales. You're my little boy. You belong. Nothing is about self-sacrifice or serving others anymore for men or women. And we're not allowed to be selfish. We're not allowed to fall down or fail. Said who? When a man offers a woman a hand to get out of a car or offers to protect her from a situation that could be dangerous, oh, well, then it's toxic masculinity, and men should not behave that way. And so it sounds to me like our current society is saying that this is what you wanted. That like women are not allowed to fail. Says who? Says who? Nobody says that. Are men allowed to fail? What is the typical impression that a single woman has of a single man who does not have a high bank account, who is, let's say, who has failed at jobs, who has lost jobs, failed in businesses? What is a single woman's opinion of a single man in that situation? Is that, well, he's a man, he can fail. Men are allowed to fail and never going to suffer a cost for it. Well, certainly Bob Iger suffers no cost for failing. Kathleen Kennedy seems to be allowed to fail. There you go, ladies. Kathleen is your hero. She fails all the time and nobody cares. Oh my God. What a bunch of whiners. Oh my God. Just whine about everything. Anyway. Complaint number 10. It's too hard. It's too contradictory. No one ever gives you a medal or says thank you. Oh, jeez. Someone get me a violin. Oh my God. Could you imagine a man talking this way? Any woman who heard a man talking this way is going to be like, what a bitch. That's undateable. That is undateable right there, is what a woman would say to a man who spoke this way about himself. It's too contradictory to be a dude. No one ever gives you a medal or says thank you. Welcome to life. It's like, welcome to life. Dude, it's ridiculous. Imagine if I was like, I always have to ask for a like on my videos. No one ever just gives, it's the thought that counts, and no one ever just gives me a like. I have to ask for the like. Could you imagine? Star Fury, you never like my videos. Anyway. Now. What there's this word called the patriarchy, and it's quite a hot button thing. Now, do not misunderstand, my dear sailors and starnauts. Your captain is a student of history, and history is what it is. And the reality is that, women have endured quite a lot of shit at the hands of men, and I don't deny that. And they certainly are enduring. I just happened to see the film 12 Came Back, which is about, which the Wokies hate, by the way. It's a true story about the 12 Green Berets that went into Afghanistan in the early days of the Afghanistan war and liberated the capital city of the Taliban at the time. And there's a pretty horrific scene in which a woman is being shot in the head because she taught young girls how to read. And I'm thinking to myself, you want a Handmaid's Tale? It's right over there, ladies. It's right over there. It's like, what are you beefing with us for? Go over to Afghanistan and talk to them about the patriarchy. That's a patriarchy, okay? But my theory is that women criticize women for being too pretty, for talking about their kids too much, for wanting to be thin, for creating unrealistic beauty standards. Then they complain to other women about how they're being criticized, and then they attribute this criticism to men in the patriarchy. And the perfect example is the injections in the lips. Have you seen this, where they get the injections in the lips and they just get the lips? I find that hideously unattractive. And there's, Candace Owens put out a Twitter post. It's like, men, do you find this attractive? Every single male in the thread, and she said men only. I'm only interested in men's opinions on this. Every single man in the thread was like, no, I prefer a woman's natural lips. I don't like this. But every single woman in the thread was like, well, how dare you? How dare you ask men what they think, only men, about this? Men do like this. You just don't understand, Candace. And it's like, so this is women saying, you don't understand what men want, ignoring all the men in the thread. They're like, no, we don't want this. We don't want this. This is my theory. I think that all the things they think the patriarchy is demanding of them, men are not demanding of them. They are demanding of them. And they're bitching about it. Is what this movie is. And so in any case, what did I have? I had something for you. Yes, I had this article. I found this article a little while ago, and I thought I would share it with you. Let me just present this. I have a couple of chats. And Star Fury says, what would make females happy? Why does a paraphrase of the Conan quote come to mind? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their pick-me women. Yeah, exactly. Silverback says, a lot of mansplaining from the captain today. No, my dear sir, I would never mansplain. This is captain-splaining. And it's captain-splaining for the benefit of all women. I am nothing if not a servant of women. I serve at their pleasure. And in order to best serve them, I must protect them from themselves. So, yes, there's not a hint of condescension is allowed on these decks. We believe in equality. We believe in equality on these decks. There will be order here. Order here, I say. Order. Woody's in the chat. Hail, Woody! Welcome aboard. They can fall down as long as it's done comically. Yes, exactly. Everybody loves a pratfall. Nobody's disputing that. Starfury says, I'm offended. I always like your videos. I know. Well, thank you, Starfury. I was the captain was being ironic. That is a skill that is in the captain's skill set. Now, try this headline. Share tab. It's much more unwieldy. Yes. What? Select window or screen. Oh dear. This is very humiliating. Yes, yes. Ugh, I have to grant permissions. Oh no. Just torpedoed my whole stream. Now let me try again here. Share screen. This is so bizarre. The allow button is ghosted. Why will it not allow this? Okay. Hang on. All right. Well, I'm going to have to do this a different way. Does mean I can't share the YouTube video I want to share. Unless I switch over to where... Try one more thing here. Killing my stream, StreamYards. No, lovely. Now, let me try one more thing here. Okay, I have to share Chrome if I want to do that. Okay. All right, I think I got it. I think I've got it. I won't use Firefox next time. That is definitely a promise. Okay, here we go. You have been inestimably patient with your captain, and he appreciates it. Unfortunately, I don't have I don't have an ad blocker on this one, so which is why I was using Firefox in the first place. I had the ad blocker. All right. Share screen. Share screen. That would be Chrome. All right. In theory, it is now sharing. All right. I'm going to do this a different way. Go to... Be right back, folks. Be right back. All right. That's much better. That should fix the issues. Okay, here we go. Sharing screen right now. Appreciate patience. Star Fury, a little something for the drinks fund. Oh, thank you, Star Fury. £2 a suit, £2 super chat. That's proper money. All right. Apologies in advance for the ads. But here we go. And I'm going to adjust my tabs here. This was the New York Post. This was a TikTok post by a woman saying, "I'm a liberal, and it's hard to find masculine men to date who aren't conservative." Ew. Let's see. I should be able to share sound here.
Was that as a liberal woman, it is really hard to find a man who is willing to play the more traditional masculine role in the relationship in today's day and age, who is not a conservative. A man who wants to pay on the first date, who wants to open your door, who has that want and desire to take care of you and to provide.
But, you know, who doesn't believe in gun ownership so he can protect his family, who doesn't believe in, the First Amendment and that people should be free to speak their mind about just anything going on in the news. if he believes those gross kind of things, like we should stop child sex trafficking, if he believes those types of things, but also he wants to open doors for you. Like, he doesn't believe those things, but he also wants to open doors for you. But, he doesn't spend too much time in the gym, but he's got all the abs and everything. You know what this makes me think of? This makes me think of the list of complaints. It's too hard. It's too contradictory. No one ever gives you a medal or says thank you. Women are like, men don't approach anymore. And it's like, well, gee, it would be nice to get a thank you for approaching after you throw the drink in my face. I would really like that. It would mean a lot to me. But no appreciation. You have to stay pretty for men. You could totally reverse this. Well, you can't be too conservative, but you also have to open doors. But you never want to mansplain, but you should be able to provide for her. But you should also encourage her to have a career. It's like, who are the contradictions for? Like who is actually contradicting whom here? I just find this amusing. So that's one headline for you. And then I have more. I want to show you. This one's an oldie but a goodie. Are you ready for this one, folks? Here we go. There it is. Yeah, I'm not used to Twitter being X now. What is it? HBO Max is now just Max, which is dumb, and now Twitter is X, which is also dumb. So here we go. So here we have a woman who has decided to live as a man and has discovered that being man does not mean, oh, why, hello, your table's right over here, sir. Here's all of your stacks of cash. Here is all of your power and authority over others. Here is your license to be a dickhead to anyone you want and still have them obey you and worship at your feet. Here is your car. Here is every man that you meet likes and admires you. Here is literally your total domination of the world and everything you've ever wanted. Apparently, that was not this person's experience of becoming a man.
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. I had closer friendships with random women I met in the bathroom before I transitioned at clubs because of how open women are than I've had in my 8 years of transitioning. Because women are just so much more vulnerable and deep than men. But to have known, and I think a lot of trans men feel this, is we knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to have people want to hug us. And to have people want to talk to us. And to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that
just
people cross the street so that they're not near you.
Just a dude. Nothing.
And friendships are so much harder to build. And people are colder. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of
I love how he this just spent the entire thing acknowledging, wow, here's all these painful, difficult experiences men go through that I wasn't aware of. By the way, everything we believe about you gross cis men is valid. I just, you gotta love a wokie. I just admire their commitment to contradictory ideas. But that is neither here nor there. Listen, I mean this sincerely. I have great sympathy when I hear this because I think to myself, aside from other life choices, let's say, that this person has done that have done no favors, I will just say I have nothing but sympathy for any human being who feels overlooked, ignored, unloved by, everybody needs connection. Everybody needs that. And what I find amazing about this is, you just thought it was, well, you're, welcome to being a man. The world is now at your feet. And it's like, and now you've just learned that a dude's currency is not what you thought it was, is it? Now, listen, is this in any way to say that women do not have valid concerns, or that they have not been oppressed, or that they have not experienced chauvinism or any of those things that they've not? Of course not. Of course not. All those things are very true. Women have had a shit deal throughout most of history. I acknowledge that. But you know something? Men have also had a shit deal in a lot of ways. It's not a contest. It's not a contest. What we should be seeking is balance. What we should be seeking is common ground and forgiveness and understanding. And if this film had approached the audience in that way, I actually think it would have been well received. And you know, I am disappointed that Barbie is such a depressing list of whining and complaining, as if nobody else on Earth experiences this if they have a Y chromosome. And I think what's sad about that is that, you know, there were mothers and daughters who go to this movie, and I have no doubt that there's a lot of it they probably still enjoyed, but you know something? I guarantee you they left that theater and they felt heavier. That is what I believe. Even if they're not consciously aware of it. And when you leave a movie like Super Mario Brothers, you feel lighter. And I would have wished that for mothers and daughters seeing this movie. And that does not mean you couldn't have any feminist messages in it. I truly don't think that. The problem with this movie is not that it's feminist. I'm fine with it being feminist. The problem with this movie is it's dark, it's depressing, it's mean-spirited, and frankly, it's pathetic. There's a big pity party going on in this movie, and it's bringing down the mood. You know, it's okay. But what do the ladies at The View have to say about this? I want to show you this, okay? I want you to share in this with me. The ads. There we go. All right, here we go. Because I'm setting something up here, folks. Star Fury says you could get an ad blocker for most web clients. Now, yes, you're right, Star Fury. It was that your captain had a lot to do. You know, I get up at 6 a.m. every Sunday and I start prepping, and I think, you know what? I'll get everything taken care of by like 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and I'll just chill. I'll just play video games or whatever. I'll finally have some time to myself, you know, and just chill until the live stream starts. Never happens. I am working like a dog right up until the minute it starts every time. And I'm like, I don't even know how that's possible, because I don't feel like I put a giant amount of effort into this. Let's just be honest. I'm phoning it in big time. Anyway, the point is, I just didn't have time to install an ad extension, which sounds like a bit of a cope, but you know, look, I just didn't. And I thought, well, Mozilla already has it. I'll just run the StreamYard from there. And well, now there you have it. There you have it. I need a producer in the worst way. You know, anyhow, what was I doing? Oh, yes. Before we go any further, I want you to hear, listen, I don't do this to you lightly. Okay. But here we go.
Even before it did big business at the box office this weekend, a wave of conservatives were bashing Barbie. Mm. Here are some of their complaints. Clip, please.
I quickly learned this isn't a kid's movie after all, because the left has given Barbie a complete feminist makeover.
They're trying to kiss up to the Chinese Communist Party because they want to make money selling the movie in China.
You know, with all due respect to Senator Cruz. You know, look, I'm no fan of the intersectional gobbledygook in this movie. But that does not mean I want to hear just this total boomer take from Ted Cruz. Oh no, it's about the Chinese Communist Party. Look, that's just, I think that's reading too much into it. Myself, I am as anti-woke as you could possibly get, but you know, look, politicos, you know, they can only see things through political lenses. I
find it upsetting when material is based on children's IP, marketed to little girls, actually ends up being angry feminist claptrap that alienates men from women, undermines basic human values, and promotes falsehood all at the same time.
Wow. It's
Now, before I get to her response, Ben Shapiro, I actually think Ben Shapiro kind of makes the same mistake this movie makes, which is he's so angry about it. It's like, I think it's laughable, sadly. I think it's, anyway, Ben Shapiro, he is what he is. Look, he's a nerd. Great respect to him for that. Great respect to him for that. I hate his movie reviews. Anyhow, but I tell you that, I show you that to show you this.
a movie. It's wow. It's a movie. It's a movie about a doll. I thought y'all would be happy. She has no genitalia, so there's no sex involved. Ken has no genitalia, so he can't be. It's a doll movie. And
It's
you
a
know
doll
who?
movie.
The kids know it's colorful and it's Barbie. They haven't lived through what the adults have lived through. So when they're seeing this movie, that's not how they're looking at it.
That's why it's such a great tool for indoctrination. But that's not the point. That's not the point. Anyhow, this is a perfect example of the gaslighting. This is one of the best examples of the gaslighting that I could ever see. It's just a movie. It's just a movie, you trolls in your basements, you incels. Why are you so mad about it? And then, of course, she says, you should like it. She has no genitalia, so there's no sex involved, as if that's what's being demanded. Well, maybe Ben Shapiro's demanding that. I'm not demanding that. I'm perfectly happy. I'm perfectly happy with sex in movies, okay? No problems here with that. But she's like, I feel like that's what the movie is saying. The movie is saying it would have been a bad movie if the characters had sexuality. That's basically what the movie is putting forth, that the fact that Ken wants Barbie shows that there's something desperate about him. He's an incel and he should go find himself. He shouldn't have to need her. He shouldn't have to need a woman and she shouldn't have to need a man. So if anyone is making the case that it should be desexualized, it's the writer of this film. But again, what are we to make of this? What are we to make of this? They always say this. Do you notice this? Every time we have a complaint about one of these films, they always say this. It's just a movie. Okay. All right. It's just a movie. You know what? Maybe you're right, Whoopi. You're right. We're just making a big deal out of nothing. Nobody's even thinking of it in this fashion. Nobody in their right mind, none of the normal, sane people of the world are thinking of Barbie as anything other than a doll movie. It is a doll movie. The kids are enjoying it. The only people in the world who have a political take on this, who think there's anything to read into it at all, are just angry, right-wing, What? From Time Magazine. Barbie is a movie about male fragility. Let's dig in. Come back. Here we go. But it's just a doll movie. No, there's no messages. There's no political thing here. Nobody's making that case. It's a doll movie. But here we have Time Magazine writing an article. Barbie is a movie about male fragility. Spoilers for Barbie. Who knew that He's Just Ken was more than a marketing joke? The Barbie movie centers, of course, on its titular character played by Margot Robbie. But Ken, Ryan Gosling, plays an important role in the drama as he wrangles with the notion that he's long been an accessory in Barbie's dream life, more than an equal partner. I'll say the quiet part out loud. Even though this is a movie that leans heavily into a feminine aesthetic and is, as writer-director Greta Gerwig told me during an interview for Time's Barbie cover story, a film at its core for mothers and daughters, Ken has the most intriguing and funniest part to play, offering a searing social commentary on modern man's insecurities dressed up in bubblegum pink. Wait, stop tape. What? What? No, you have, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. Miss, who is this now? This is Eliana Doctorman. Her name is Doctorman. That's interesting. Eliana Doctorman of Time Magazine, who herself has interviewed this. Someone has made a mistake because Madam Whoopi Goldberg on The View informed me from her learned experience and her approved intellectual credentials that this is just a dull movie and that anyone who reads anything else into it is just an angry conservative incel who just doesn't like feminism in movies. So I'm confused. I thought that this wasn't a political movie. I thought there wasn't anything in this, so it's for daughters, mothers and daughters. Perhaps we shouldn't have expected less from the mind behind Lady Bird and Little Women. Gerwig transformed the joke about the forgettable male doll into a meditation on the state of masculinity at a moment when so many young men feel disempowered, have found misguided solace in the patriarchy. Oh, yes, that's where I go running for my solace, don't you know? Give me, I'll take a shot of patriarchy. Thank you very much. Make it a double. It's a B plot, so compelling. It often outshines the somewhat dated girl power mantras of Barbie's A plot. Oh, geez, they're boring themselves, folks. They are boring themselves now. They have been banging this drum for so damn long that they're boring each other now. It's a somewhat dated plot, but I digress. Ken's awakening. From the start of the film, Ken smarts at Barbie's small rejections. He seethes to others when she talks to other Kens, particularly the one played by Simu Liu, whom he sees as a rival. He doesn't have a real job or home or purpose outside of Barbie, which actually is a hilarious part of the story. Then Ken leaves Barbie Land, a feminist utopia, and enters the real world, where men run... stop the tape. A feminist utopia in which the principal character is still depressed and wants to die. What should that tell you about women's idea of what a utopia is? And enters the real world, where men run, well, everything. In short, Ken discovers the patriarchy and decides to bring it back to Barbie Land, establishing his own Kendom. In a clever bit of screenwriting, Ken cares more about the sartorial manifestations of the patriarchy than the patriarchy itself. He is, after all, a fashion doll. When he discovers that demolishing feminism involves more than donning Sylvester Stallone-inspired fur coats, riding horses, and redecorating Barbie's dream house into what he dubs his Mojo Dojo Casa house, which was hilarious, by the way, he loses interest. He's easily distracted by acting out war games with other Kens, allowing the Barbies to take Barbie Land back from the boys. Yes. And on it goes. During interviews on the cover story on Barbie magazine, producer David Heyman suggested that men of all ages would find resonance with Ken's journey. I think Ryan is undeniable and so affecting in the film. People really care for Ken when he's misguided. I think a lot of boys and men will find that there's a lot to relate to in Ken as they try to find their place in the world. But it's all done with such a light touch and such generosity, and Ryan is just, I think, extraordinary. Gosling does indeed pull off what could have been a tricky character. If Ken weren't so ridiculous, he'd be threatening. Ken isn't an incel exactly, short for involuntary celibate. Incel is a term that certain men use for themselves to describe a state where they feel, but certainly are not, rejected by women and are resentful toward them as a result. And it's also what we just call them when we don't like their opinions. These men spend a lot of time on the internet for bashing feminists and longing for the days when I can't even get through it. Longing for the days when women didn't work and men controlled women's bodies and men's were earning power could all but guarantee them a sexual partner or wife. This is why they love The Handmaid's Tale, folks. This is why I say The Handmaid's Tale is a woman's fantasy. Believe me, I know that's a hot take for women. I'm telling you, it is a what now? Does this mean I want? in the sense that they want this to be real and that they want this to be true. No, that's not what I mean. I don't mean that they actually want to live in a Handmaid's Tale. What I mean is they find it titillating to fantasize about the sort of existential horror of it because it's feeding into their own paranoia about what they think men want. This is my point. Because she is basically saying men are out there just pining and longing for the days when women didn't work, when men, they were slaves. Men want slaves, they don't want partners. It's basically what this writer thinks. And it's what this movie thinks, by the way. And they just couldn't look. I just come back to my original question. What do you want? What do you want from us? Do you want us to open the door, or do you want us to let you get it yourself? Do you want us to provide for you and be wealthy and have a great income and make you comfortable? Or do you want to be a career woman and provide for yourself? Do you want to work all these complicated jobs, or do you want us in these jobs? Like, do you want both of us in these jobs? I don't care. Whatever you want, let's do it. Like, do you want to be in construction? Be in construction. Anyway. I actually, yeah. Do you want all these complicated jobs that are hard for women? That's not how I meant it, but whatever. I don't care. Ken is more mild-mannered than that. He doesn't have the parts down there to even really understand what sex is. When he tries to kiss Barbie goodnight, she stares at him blankly. When he asks to stay over, she asks innocently what they would do. He charmingly replies that he doesn't know, but the implication is certainly that Ken would really prefer if he had more of Barbie's attention. He can never stay over because Barbie tells him every night it's girls' night. Oh my God, there's so much of this. I'm just, where's the lead here? The fantasy of finding equilibrium? Well, this ought to be good. What, in the end, are women to do about this male fragility? Barbie offers a complicated and not entirely satisfying answer. The Barbies eventually overthrow the Kendom and reach a detente with the Kens. They will give the Kens as much power in Barbie Land as women have in the real world. Just a few judgeships, not half of them, and cabinet positions, but not the presidency. Oh, they're still sore about Hillary. They're still sore that Hillary didn't get the presidency. Oh, but they love Margaret Thatcher. They love the Iron Lady, don't they? Oh, they love Sarah Palin. Don't they love them? So they love Kristi Noem. They love Nikki Haley, don't they? Sure they do. Oh, who's the Italian prime minister? The one they call the fascist all the time. She's total babe, by the way. Giorgia Meloni. They love Giorgia Meloni, don't they? Yeah, that's what they mean when they say we want women in positions of power. Sure. They love J.K. Rowling. Don't they just love J.K. Rowling, one of the wealthiest intellectual property owners in the world? It's not equality exactly, but it's a compromise. Whether such an equilibrium can or should be reached in the real world, the film doesn't try to answer, nor is it necessarily the responsibility of a fun musical romp to do so. In the end, Ken specifically learns that he's Kenuff without Barbie, a resolution that plays better as a pun than as an edict for the modern man. I thought it was just a movie about dolls. I thought this was a movie. Let's hear Whoopi one more time here. One more time.
It's a movie about a doll. I thought y'all would be happy. She has no genitalia, so there's no sex involved. Ken has no genitalia, so he can't be.
Yes. It's a movie about a doll. That's all it is. Nothing to see here, folks. And see that this is the thing. We men are over here minding our own business. We're making our Oppenheimer films. We're planning our G.I. Joe franchise. We're over here having fun with Spider-Man and Captain America and Iron Man. We're over here playing a nerdy game called Warhammer with tabletop miniatures, which will score no man in the world a date ever. We are sweaty and unpleasant. The aroma is musky in those rooms while we are playing Warhammer, and we don't care. And we're over here minding our own business, playing our Dungeons and Dragons. And what happens? What happens? The wokies over the hens over at The View and their counterparts throughout the media and the entertainment sphere and all academia and everywhere else, they wander by and they say, well, gee, there are sure a lot of busty elvish women in this game. Why is that? Oh, gee, there sure is a lot of toxic male behavior in the Imperium of Man. And we need to do something about that. And we're over here saying, excuse me, we're just trying to play our game. And they're like, gee, you seem like incels to me. You seem very angry that you've been rejected by women. That's probably why you play this game. No, we just kind of like the miniatures. I play the Space Marines. Like, gee, you're really pathetic. Don't you have a job to provide for a woman? Also, why are you trying to provide for a woman who's independent and doesn't need you? You should go find yourself. I'm finding myself just fine. I'm playing as the Tyranids, and it's pretty fun. You want to play? Well, I'll play as long as there's female empowerment in it. So we are minding our own business, enjoying the things we enjoy, demanding nothing of anyone, and they wander by and they ruin, they start injecting all this garbage into all of our shit, and then when we point it out, what do we get? It's about a doll. You're not seeing it. What you're seeing isn't there. It annoys me. It annoys me. I have more for you. I have more. I am building. It's just a movie about a doll. Would you like to see more proof of how totally there's no message in this movie? How not about anything but a doll this is? Would you like to see more proof of this? I'll show you more. Here we go. It's from Salon. Why I'm passing on the Barbie movie. My daughter already receives enough unintentional whiteness. Ew, whiteness is gross. Yeah, so we have that one. Yep. What else? Tell me more about how this is just a doll movie. It's a doll movie. It has no messaging in it whatsoever. This doctor says Barbie ending normalizes an important part of women's health, which is that ends with her going for a gynecological. Oh my God, it's so perfect. You can't even believe this. I'm not shitting you, my dear sailors and starnuts. The Barbie film, spoilers, ends with Barbie going to get a gynecological exam. Like, men aren't like this. Men, no, like the Expendables is never going to end with like a triumphant Sylvester Stallone walking up to the, hey, I'd like to get my prostate examined. And it's like, oh, good for you, Sylvester. You finally acknowledged your maleness. Yeah, is that, hey, Brad, I'm going to get my prostate examined. Nobody wants that from Rambo. Why do women want this? That's all I'm saying. I'm not even saying you can't have your gynecological exam. I would never deny that to you. I'm saying, why do you want that to be the ending to your movie? That's all I'm saying. I'm just asking questions, harmless questions apropos of nothing. What I felt like I had one more in here. Oh yeah. Oh yes. And now the pièce de résistance, my dear sailors and starnuts. As I mentioned, it's not enough that they have to gaslight us about the movie they stuffed full of all these woke messages meant to complain and whine and lecture and browbeat men. It's not enough that they have to gaslight us that this is not in the movie and that what we're seeing, if we think we see it, it's only because we're incels, don't you know? They're not even content with their own nonsense claptrap. This from The Independent, Barbie isn't anti-men, but Oppenheimer is anti-women. It's just a movie about a scientist. What are you talking about? It's a movie about a scientist and an atom bomb. Gee, I thought you would have been happy. It's 3 hours long and it's for the older crowd. You don't even have to go. Barbie is over across the hall. Like, I thought you'd be happy. See, two could play at this game. And yes, and to read you this article, which frankly I've tortured you enough, I would have to pay for it, and I ain't doing that. I ain't paid for that. Oh, geez, I was on the wrong. Let's go to. Yeah, there you go. The captain has worked up. Has got itself quite worked up today. I'm just having fun with it. I'm just having fun. You know what's funny is, I swear I sound angry. I'm not. I really, this movie doesn't make me mad at all. Now, it did make me a little bit want to slit my wrist. I won't lie about that. Like, it definitely, it's weird. Like, there's a lot of depressing movies I've seen. Probably the most depressing film ever made is The Road with Viggo Mortensen. That is the most depressing film you will ever see in your life. I seriously, I can't even think of its equal. This movie's close. This movie is almost as bad as what's the name of the author who did The Road? It's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it. Anyway, it's almost as depressing. Star Fury says everyone needs connection. When did that happen? Well, you know, there are exceptions, Star Fury. There are exceptions. Super Mario bonus, it helps with your diet. We had several female prime ministers, haha, says Star Fury. And, you know, Lady Thatcher is the only one that... Lady Thatcher is my girl. By the way, Gillian Anderson's performance of Margaret Thatcher in The Crown is glorious. It is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. And even though they definitely, you know... They absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say the word Hannity always says, besmirch. I hate that word, but that's what they do. They besmirch her character. But there is an episode in which Margaret Thatcher goes with the royals on a retreat to Queen Elizabeth's main castle. I forget the name of it. Anyway, they go to her main castle that she considers home, and the Thatchers are with her, and Margaret Thatcher is going out of her mind. She's like, oh my God, these people, all they do is go pheasant hunting and horse riding. They don't do anything. She's talking about the Queen and the royal family. She's like, oh my God, you know, and then she's like writing, like she's dictating letters and stuff like that because she's just been elected to Parliament. And one of the royals asks Margaret Thatcher, you know, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I have work. I have work to do. You know, and she can't stand the fact that, like, these people don't work. She's like, I have to get to work. Like, I have shit to do. I'm running the country. I'm running the British Empire. And I'm like, I thought that's pretty boss, actually. That episode I quite loved because it was definitely Thatcher. It's like, I am never going on a trip with the royals ever again. This is the most nightmarish thing. And to be honest, I really identify with that character because, like, I'll tell you, it's just when you are used to having to get things done, you just can't stand sitting idle unless it's something you really love to do, in my case. What else? What else is in the stack of stuff? I have just gone quite the rant about this. So what is my final rating for Barbie? I would say I am going to give this film, I'm tempted to give it a 1, but I feel that would be too low because there is a film that is 2 bars, and that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in no way is a better film than Barbie. So I'm actually going to say Barbie is 2 bars, 1 pip on the epaulets, and that is because it gets the pip because there's just enough celebration in the first 20 minutes or so of Barbie and Ken, and there's just enough like fun things in this movie that it almost could have been a slightly fun movie. It made me laugh a couple of times. There is nothing in Dial of Destiny that is fun or enjoyable at all. So it beats Dial of Destiny by a pip. 2 bars, 1 pip for Barbie. And, you know, something that actually makes Barbie even worse than it otherwise would have been, because in terms of filmmaking, it's not that terrible. You know, what I would say really drags Barbie down is the fact that it is so mean-spirited and it is competently made. It is a competently made film, which is partly why it's successful, because it has great set design, it has great performances, there's a fun musical number in it. It pretends to like the character, and that is particularly malicious because it is hiding the real intent of the film, which is it is a film that has anger and resentment towards men, which is honestly the least of its problems. But more importantly, it has, I am telling you, hatred for the character of Barbie, the doll Barbie, the concept of girls playing with Barbie. It just hates these things. It hates these things, and it's hiding it behind pretending to like these things. And that is why it gets 2 bars, 1 pip. And I'm not totally unsympathetic to director Greta Gerwig's reasoning for some of it, because she says, well, I felt like you needed to have as part of the film the critique of Barbie, because there is a critique of Barbie. So why not address it in the film? And I don't disagree with that. I just think she made it too mean-spirited. She just made it way too mean-spirited, because let me just give you as my last point on this. Here is the girl in the film who's, she's the teenager that has grown out of playing with Barbie. Barbie thinks she's the girl that's playing with her in the real world. So she goes up to her at school and she basically, hi, I'm Barbie. Don't you love me? This girl basically says, no, you're awful. I hate you. I haven't played with you since I was 5, in the most emo goth way possible. And then Barbie says, but why? This is what the girl tells her in the film. She says, you've been making women feel bad about themselves since you were invented. You represent everything wrong with our culture. And that includes sexualized capitalism. What the hell is not sexualized capitalism? I don't know. Unrealistic physical ideals. And you've set the feminist movement back 50 years. 50 years? I mean, I think we're going a little overboard with that. Barbie counters, I'm supposed to make you feel happy and powerful. And the girl says to her, this is verbatim, oh, I am powerful. Until you showed up and declared yourself Barbie, I hadn't thought about you in years, you fascist. So, as my final point on this film, I would just say, whoever likes this movie, you're welcome to it. It's not for me. I did this to myself. I take full responsibility. The captain I have a job to do on YouTube. It's a calculated risk. So look, I'm complaining. Who cares about my complaints? That being said, to the women who are enjoying this film, to the men who are enjoying this film, really? That's what makes you happy? Listening to this girl basically call Barbie a fascist and making her cry? It's like, she does have a pretty funny reply, though, which is, but I don't control the railroads or commerce. And I'm like, well, that's actually pretty funny. So, but it's so mean-spirited. It's so depressing. It is a movie about a woman who is depressed and suicidal. And it's because life is so damn hard. And it's, anyway. All right, enough of Barbie. We need a palate cleanser. And I believe that there is no better way. So once again, just to review, The complaints of women are it's impossible to be a woman. You have to be extraordinary, but you're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can't say you want to be thin, but you do have to say you want to be healthy. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be the boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. Be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people, always be taking care of other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, but if you point that out, you're complaining. You have to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them, not too much, and you can't be so pretty that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of the sisterhood. Always stand out and always be grateful, even though the system is rigged, and find a way to acknowledge that, but always be grateful. Never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory. No one ever says thank you or gives you a medal. And as it turns out, everything you're doing is wrong, but everything is your fault. I am so sick and tired of watching myself and every other woman tie herself into knots so people will like us. And to that, I have only one reply. I have only one reply. And if you'll bear with me for just one moment, I will play it directly.
You come to CarQuest Auto Parts for real answers from real...
Apologies. Here we go.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always gonna love you no matter what. No matter what happens. You're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life. Let me tell you something you already...
That would be a father talking to his son. One toxic male to the other. So there you have it from the film Rocky Balboa, which I highly recommend. And that is my final word on that. So let us talk about the final stage of the controlled demolition of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The captain would like to call a moment of silence. A moment of silence for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you please, if you would doff your caps. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We shall always think fondly of the days of the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. They shall be missed, and we thus commit their bodies to the deep. I finished all... you know what's incredible? You want to hear the most incredible thing about Secret Invasion? What is one of my complaints about the new Kurtzman Trek and a lot of these, frankly, a lot of the Marvel shows like Andor, which is arguably maybe the only truly quality written show that Disney Plus has ever produced, with the runner-up being Mandalorian season 1, and that is it. That is the whole list of anything I could consider good. And yet, what is my complaint? My complaint is Andor is way too long. It is like, why are there so many episodes? There's too many episodes. There's not enough story for that. Remarkably, Secret Invasion is only 6 episodes. And I am not kidding you when I tell you there is not enough story in this for a 2-hour movie. There is not enough story in those 6 episodes for 1 hour. It is so boring. It is the most boring thing I've ever seen. It is, it's too audacious to say it's the worst thing Marvel has ever produced, but I'm on the point of saying it. I am just this close to saying it because I have to think about it because I'm like, at least, I was still blue-pilled enough that I could at least sort of enjoy the first episode or 2 of Loki. I could sort of enjoy the first couple episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was the new Captain America guy that they put in the Captain. He was actually pretty cool. And it was nice to see some of the old characters since Endgame, and it all went downhill. It all went downhill. And it's incredible to me, though, that I am now in the position after She-Hulk, after just every garbage show that, Ms. Marvel, all these shows they've come out with. Secret Invasion might be the absolute worst thing on Disney Plus. It might be the worst that I've seen, the worst written show I have seen. And that's after like Mandalorian season 3. Which is worse, Mandalorian season 3 or Secret Invasion? I think that I'm going to go Secret Invasion is worse because at least Mandalorian season 3, the pterodactyl comes down. I'm like, oh, the pterodactyl. Oh my God. Who could have guessed that 2 crocodiles and 1 pterodactyl would have stolen our foundlings on the same beach in the same week? It's a coincidence. At least that's funny. At least that's amusing. The pterodactyl coughing up the kid. Yeah, there's the kid. It's like perfectly unharmed. Now, see, that's at least entertaining. Jack Black and Lizzo. That's no moon. Lizzo over there saying, "Ooh," she's calling Baby Yoda like he's a poodle. There's at least some entertainment value that I find in that. Secret Invasion doesn't even have that going for it. Star Fury says, how much brain damage did you suffer watching Secret Invasion? Someone in the family should have staged an intervention. Well, I'm going to tell you, this is not hyperbole. When I say this, this is not like I'm just saying this because it's funny for the stream. I am dead serious about this. I was starting to get freaked out because, as you know, I am in the process of writing my own story, Galaxy Born. And my whole goal with this is to have like an actual space adventure with heroic characters, male and female, who work together on a mission across the stars. And I'm trying to like elevate the medium. And I'm watching this show, and it's making me feel dumber as a writer. I'm not even kidding. It's like it's a weird feeling. I can't even really describe it exactly. It's like this is Chat GPT writing. Secret Invasion is Chat GPT writing. Maybe worse. They have circular dialogues where nothing is said. It's literally like everything is what you would superficially expect to happen in a scene. Nick Fury's only ability is once in a while to actually pull out a gun and shoot people. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no cleverness to that at all. There's just nothing about that is intriguing or creative. Mission Impossible, these films are so creative with their action sequences. Like a car chase in Mission Impossible is not just a car chase. A motorcycle chase is not just a motorcycle chase. A train heist is not just a train heist. Something always happens that you just don't expect at all. The characters solve problems in ways you don't expect. Secret Invasion has nothing that you wouldn't automatically expect as a matter of course. And that's why I say it's ChatGPT writing, because it's like ChatGPT just make things happen. And it would make things happen. I think I wrote down Let me see. Did I write down? I caught a couple snippets of dialogue as I was going through it. Okay, here, perfect example of what I'm talking about. So the last 2 episodes are basically the bad guys plan the Skrulls. Spoilers for Secret Invasion. Although, if you are entertained by this show, I need to know in the chat and in the comments immediately, because you must be studied for science if you find the show entertaining. It's like it's for science, trust me. So spoilers. At the end of the series finale boils down to the Skrulls have figured out how to extract the DNA of all of the Avengers, because all of the Avengers spilled blood in the Battle of Earth. I think they could have found a more inspiring title than that, but whatever. So in the big battle with Thanos, they all spilled blood. And so what Nick Fury did, which does not help his character at all, by the way, he sent all of his little Skrull goons out there to go collect all the spilled DNA of all of the Avengers. And I'm thinking, this takes into account, like, is it even possible for Captain Marvel to bleed? Because she's basically invincible. Well, I mean, oh my God, no, never mind. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you're not taking into account, like, can the Hulk spill blood? He's indestructible. So that is stupid right off the bat. But let's just grant it for the sake of argument. So they go find all this DNA, and they have the DNA of all the Avengers, and they inject them into themselves, the Skrull. Well, the evil bad Skrull. No, it's Talos is the good one. Gravik is the bad guy. He injects himself with the DNA of all the Avengers, and he now has all their abilities. Hulk, Groot, all of them. Captain Marvel, he's got all of them. And he has magical abilities that I believe it's the wizard character in Infinity War that's like commanding things to move with his mind. He has like those abilities. And I'm like, how can he have magical abilities that he hasn't been taught? Anyway. So he has all those abilities. And Nick Fury is confronting him in the ruins of the nuclear reactor. Now, it turns out that this was actually one of the few moments in the series I was actually enjoying, because Nick Fury puts on his old trench coat, he puts on the eye patch, and he's for real this time. He is, and he gets all of his weapons, and he goes out. And he's going to face Gravik, and it was anemic and milquetoast, but when he's walking into the ruins of the nuclear reactor, because that's where all the Skrulls are hiding, because they're immune to radiation and humans aren't. So Nick Fury has injected himself with anti-radiation meds, and he's going into the abandoned reactor to face Gravik. And it actually had just a little bit of a vibe of like, oh yeah, it's like the good guy going to face down the villain. And as he's going through the ruins, he's getting more and more sick. He's coughing, he's hacking. And then Gravik comes out and starts gloating because he's like, you don't look so good, Nick. And he's getting all crippled from the radiation. And the dialogue is dumb as hell. It's just basic bitch dialogue. But even aside from that, there is an element of drama there, because it's like, wow, how's Nick Fury going to get out of this? Because he's poisoning himself. He's in a radioactive environment. And I'm thinking they're just going to invent some kind of magical bullshit reason why this doesn't kill him. But even so, this is like the first time this show has had any stakes whatsoever. So believe me, it's all relative. I'm saying in all of this show, this is one scene that at least has my attention, and I'm kind of watching it. And then Gravik goes to punch Nick Fury and kill him. And then Nick Fury catches Gravik's hand and is forcing it back with superhuman strength. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then Nick Fury punches him with a Hulk hand. Nick Fury's hand turns into a Hulk hand, and he punches Gravik, and Gravik goes flying across the room. Now, this is very important, my dear sailors and starnauts. This was my exact thought. I thought, wow, that was cool. Why was that cool? Well, because Nick Fury did something clever. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting, because Nick Fury had all the DNA that Gravik needed, and he was bringing it there for a trade. So Nick had the DNA. And so I thought, before he showed up to the meeting, he injected himself. Just forget about the magical bullshit side of it just for a second. Just humor me. And he injected himself with the Hulk's DNA. Now, why would that be clever? Because he's now in a nuclear facility with a bunch of gamma radiation. It's not really how gamma radiation works, but I'll grant it. I'll just grant it. It's a gimme. They're trying, is what I'm thinking. And so he's injected himself with the Hulk DNA, which means all the radiation that he's been soaking up has been helping him and making him stronger, because he's now able to Hulk out and punch Gravik. And I thought, did they just, was that just clever writing? Wait, was that a character thinking cleverly and surprising the villain with something he wasn't expecting? That's weird. You want to know the very next thing that happened? The very next thing? Nick Fury turned into Emilia Clarke, Gaia. It wasn't really Nick Fury the whole time. It was Gaia. And she had injected herself. It's the hero's journey. She had injected herself with all of the DNA of all the heroes. And then they have a big, dumb, stupid action scene where they're fighting each other with all the powers of the villains, and she kicks his ass and girl bosses him to death. But my point is, I couldn't believe it. I was so angry. I was just like, really? There wasn't one thing you could give Nick Fury in the whole damn show. And I'm thinking what's incredible about it is, even at the basic level of writing that it was at, the idea that Nick Fury is going into a radioactive wasteland to face down the villain is at least something. It's at least some drama. And at the end, it wasn't even that. It's unbelievable. Oh my God, this show. It is so bad, Star Fury. My point is, I have lost brain cells watching this show. Now, what was the line that I interrupted myself? So when Nick Fury's getting ready to go to the final showdown, which ultimately he doesn't go to because he sent Emilia Clarke goes, the MI6 agent he's been hanging out with, who also played the Queen on The Crown, she says, Nick, why haven't you invited, the big guys, meaning the Avengers? So she's asking him, why hasn't he invited the Avengers to help stop, World War III from nuking the entire planet and eradicating the human species? Which, to my mind, is a reasonable question. Say, Nick, why haven't you considered calling the Avengers to stop the nuking of planet Earth? And do you want to know what Duke Nukem? Do you want to know what Nick Fury said? This is an exact quote. It's just personal. We can't keep depending on these superheroes to swoop down and save our asses. None of them have the life I have. None of them can defend the world I can, the way I can. The only power I have was planted between my ears by a single mother, wrapped around my finger by a woman far greater than I could ever hope to be. That ain't enough. I don't know what hope we have. I just started laughing. I'm like, no, you've got to be kidding me. And I immediately thought of in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Nick Fury tells this story about his father and how his father lived in a rough neighborhood, and how his father would have to carry a bag of cash through the neighborhood, and he had a gun to defend himself. And I don't remember the exact full scope of the story, but I just remember him telling that story about his old man. And it was not told from the frame of like, oh, he was a deadbeat dad, or I never knew him. It was just a story about his dad. And there was nothing racial about it either. It was just his dad was a badass, and he's telling a story about something badass he learned from his dad. This is in The Winter Soldier. And I'm thinking this show has no memory or knowledge of that at all, because Nick Fury, I'll read this to you again. This is Nick Fury's reason for why the Avengers are not in Secret Invasion. We can't keep depending on these superheroes to save our asses. None of them have lived the life I have. None of them can defend the world the way I can. The Hulk, Captain America, Thor cannot defend the world the way he can. Okay. And why is that? Why is it that only Nick Fury can defend the world from nuclear Armageddon? And why is it therefore responsible and prudent that he not invite the Avengers, even though this conversation implies he very well could? Well, the reason he gives is because the only power I have was planted between my ears by a single mother and wrapped around my finger by a woman far greater, his wife, who is a Skrull, than I could ever hope to be. If that isn't enough, so I'm following this. In other words, if the power planted between my ears by a single mother and a woman greater than I could ever hope to be isn't enough to save the world from total nuclear annihilation, then what hope do we have? I don't know. How about the fucking Avengers? Like, what are you talking about? This show is ridiculous. Oh my God, I can't even stand it. It's like, this is worse than ChatGPT writing. It's so much worse. These are dumb people, folks. These are dumb people on that picket line out there. They get what old Roddy Perlman.
One thing before I get off this. The mother who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me, mother. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial. Some of it is karma. And some of it is just figuring out who the said that. And we know who said that. And where he lives. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. You wish that on people. You wish that families starve while you're making $27 million a year for creating nothing. Be careful, mother. Be really careful. Because that's the kind of that stirs up.
Listen, motherfucker. You think that's the only way you can lose your house? So old Ron Perlman over there, he's talking about the writers on the picket line, and I'm thinking, these are who you're so upset about, sir. These are the writers you're so upset about. Oh God, you know what it is? It's like basically these writers are, well, okay. Why wouldn't he have the Avengers? We need to explain this in episode like 6. Like, why bother? Why bother at that point? But anyway, they have to explain why the Avengers aren't there in episode 6. They're like, we're at the 11th hour, folks. We got to answer this question. And what is the best they could come up with? Well, there's certainly no reason we couldn't. And there's certainly no reason the stakes aren't high enough. It's just that, Nick is going to use the superhuman strength of being raised by a single mom and having an amazing wife to defeat nuclear Armageddon. It's so stupid. Oh my God, this movie. It's you know what? It's like as hat tip heel versus babyface. As oh, you're doing me head in. You're doing me head in. That's what this is. Dude, Nick Fury. I cannot overstate this, folks. This is of all the bitchified male characters we've ever seen. I'm saying go down the list. Han Solo, Jake Skywalker, Indiana Jones, Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Every single one of them. This is the most bitchified I've ever seen. And particularly because it's Samuel L. Jackson, one of the most masculine type. He's like, he is the most deballed I've ever seen a male character in one of these. This is peak MCU. They have outdone themselves, folks. They have outdone themselves. He literally is sitting in this scene I'm referring to. He's like, he's sad. Oh, I'm never, there's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. Jack is in the chat. Hail Jack, he says, remember when they used to make films to indoctrinate the audience with their own political views? That was Soviet Russia in the 1970s and Hollywood now. Yeah, they're just working towards, when they can like tape our eyelids open, that's what their next step is at this point. Wrangler says, every time I start to doubt my writing, I just watch a modern MCU flick and suddenly feel all sorts better. How about he's not certain who is the real deal at the moment? I think that's a much better reason in those circumstances. Yeah, and if you don't feel, look, this is your time. If you've got a story to tell, my friends, if you've got a dream of like creating something, this is your time. The inmates are running the asylum in these writers' rooms. I mean, the inmates are running the asylum. They are painting feces on the walls. It is total pandemonium. They are literally like Jim Carrey's impression of like the mentally handicapped guy in Ace Ventura. When he's in like the tutu and he's pretending to be crazy. Anyway. But this is the other thing. So at the end of Secret Invasion, this is how dumb the writing is. I mean, I could go on all day about this, but I won't. But there is like the big happy ending, and Emilia Clarke, who is now the most, it's true, she is now the most powerful character in all of the MCU. She has all of the characters' abilities, all of them. All of them. Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, freaking all of them. And even some of the villains, they even have some of the villains' abilities. So they're letting all the hostages that have been held imprisoned by the Skrulls, who have been like, they've been asleep, they've been, sedated all this time. And something occurred to me because she's letting them all out. And be free, you're free to go. It's all over, folks. We've saved the day. And I suddenly realized that the whole plot revolved around, why are the Skrulls so hard to find? Well, in addition to the fact that they can shapeshift, when they want to just live as themselves, they are impossible to find, that nobody knows the location of these decommissioned nuclear reactor sites that are irradiated. And because these decommissioned nuclear sites are irradiated and Skrulls are immune to radiation, they can survive there and humans can't. And humans don't know where any of these decommissioned reactors are, because only Russians know about it. And for whatever reason, we can't just ask the Russians or anything, or tell the Russians that they're there, so the Russians can also potentially deal with it. Can't do any of that. Why? Don't know. Who cares? Just go with it. And that's the whole plot, right? And so Nick Fury, all the dramatic tension in the final showdown is that Nick Fury, who turns out just to be Emilia Clarke pretending, is being killed, is being made sick, being made ill and debilitated by the radiation. And then it hit me. I'm like, and all the hostages, the human hostages, do you know where they've been held all this time? Rhodey, Colonel Rhodes, do you know where they've all been held? At the decommissioned nuclear site. They've been sitting in the nuclear site. They've been irradiated the whole time. I'm like, they should all be dead. What? Oh, they completely undid the whole plot. They undid the whole reason for the plot at the end. It wasn't even at the end, because you see the hostages earlier in the show, and I didn't even think about it. I was like, wait, dude, this would not have been, Mahler would have caught this immediately. But yeah, the hostages that are human are being held in the irradiated site, rendering this whole plot useless. Not that it was very useful in the first place. So there's that. There's that. So anyway, I just thought, let's take stock, shall we? Let's take stock. How did the MCU Nick Fury start? Because I know that all the idiot simps out there that just the MCU stands, they would think that I just don't like Nick Fury because he's a character of color. And I just don't like it because of my white fragility and all this. Well, let me tell you something. I did like Nick Fury when he was Nick Fury. This is how it started.
Warning, window integrity compromised.
You think? How long's the propulsion?
Calculating. Window integrity 31%, deploying countermeasures.
Hold that order.
Window integrity, 19%. Offensive measures advised.
Wait!
Window integrity, 1%.
Now!
Propulsion systems now online.
Full acceleration now! Initiate vertical takeoff!
Flight systems damaged.
Then activate guidance cameras! No! Give me the wheel! Get me Agent Hill.
Communications array damaged.
Well, what's not damaged?
Air conditioning is fully operational.
So, there you go. That's how it started. Hey, how's it going? No. What the hell? I just, what can I even say? One more time. Some of that sweet scroll action. Gotta love it, right? You know, quite seriously, that first scene I showed you is from Captain America, the Winter Soldier, one of the great, maybe it's in my top 5 MCU films, top 3, really. It's one of the greatest superhero films ever. Okay. He's in this car, right? He's got all this technology, all this advanced technology helping him. And yet, he is still thinking strategically because the computer is saying, oh, do you want your countermeasure? And he says, no, not yet. Do you want your countermeasure? No, not yet. And he's waiting till that thing is about to cave in the window. He's like, integrity at 1% now. And he pulls it up and then he fires. Why does he do that? Because he knows that if he fires at the right time, he's going to get the most element of surprise, the most damage. Because he waits until the window is damaged enough that the rounds can penetrate it and surprise the bad guys. If he had waited until they caved it in, the bullets would have been coming in and he would have lost the element of surprise. Now, obviously, I don't need to explain this to you, my dear sailors and Starnauts, but I'm pointing it out to point out that there is strategy. There is strategery. There is clever thinking on the part of the character. He's experienced. This isn't his first rodeo. He's in a very bad situation. He should lose. But he's thinking calmly and rationally because he's been doing this for years. Then you've got the part where, he's just calling the shots. He is calling the shots and he's using what he's got. And, again, this is one of the great parts about that scene. The things that are supposed to work, like the car flying and this and that, won't work. And so he's having to think on his feet. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. By the way, that was one of the most exciting scenes in a Marvel movie. It was incredible. I remember I was in the theater. I loved it. I was like, dude, this is rad. I thought those days would never end. I thought those days would last forever, but alas. The writers who write Secret Invasion, if they had written that scene, they couldn't have, but just assuming that someone gave it to them, ChatGPT spit out, he's in a car and this is what's happening. They would never have come up with something like having him wait. Like, no, wait until the window is almost, and then we'll get the element. They would never have thought of something like that. All they would have done was have him say, auto turret now. And he just it would have had no cleverness about it. There would have been no strategic thinking. It would have just been, has gun, uses. Current MCU. I can't even believe it. I probably can't even show this again because I'll get in trouble. Will I get in trouble? Will YouTube get me in trouble for this? Maybe. It's just, yeah, I just can't understand how Samuel L. Jackson has allowed this to happen to his character. How he has, why is he not why is he not advocating for his character? Now, maybe he is, and I just don't know, and maybe he's had a real rough go of it, but I sure as hell, Henry Cavill threw up his hands when The Witcher had abused him enough. And it's like, I don't understand how a guy like Samuel L. Jackson can stand this. He's been in so many movies where he is a flat out badass. He's known for it. He's known for it. So why, I feel like this is his apology tour. This is Samuel L. Jackson is apologizing for all the toxic masculinity in his previous roles. That's what he's doing. Or he's just cashing a paycheck and who cares, which is probably the most likely answer. What else did I have on this? I do have a headline for you. I do have a headline. Try this headline on Secret Invasion. If I can find it, there it is. This from Bounding into Comics. Secret Invasion director appears to admit the series was cobbled together in the editing room even as they were releasing new episodes. Secret Invasion director Ali Salim appeared to admit the entire series was being cobbled together in the editing room, even as they were releasing new episodes every week. In an interview with Olivia Singh at Insider, Salim was asked, from what other Marvel directors and actors have said, sometimes things in the scripts change at the last minute or the day of filming. What was your experience like for Secret Invasion? How closely did it follow all the scripts, and how much room was there for improvisation or adjustments? Salim responded, I don't want to play semantic games, but I think of it as an evolution, which is him playing semantic games. As you hunt down story, everything is constantly evolving, and it's a fascinating process. He went on to elaborate, I guess there are moments to improv, like between Sam and Dawn, between Sam and Ben. There really are rich moments of improv. There are actors who rely more on the script. Well, you need a script to rely on a script. It's funny about this. I was just thinking, I've said in my previous streams that this show is Nick Fury going to pubs, going to bars, going to restaurants, going to taverns, and going to apartments, sitting down at tables and drinking. That is basically that is 50 to 60% of all of the scenes in this are him sitting at tables in any of those types of locations drinking and discussing things which are obvious in the plot. Obvious. And so they added one that I hadn't even realized. I'm like, oh, there's one other location that's in there. That would be bars. Or no, sorry, not bars. Cars. Cars. He gets into cars with people and he gets lectured in cars. In fact, here it is right here. There it is. It's like, there it is. Almost every scene where he's discussing the plot and what's happening, he's in a car with someone. And guess what? He's usually in the passenger seat, by the way. No, the ads are... I'm seeing ads for shirts I've already bought. What is up with that? Next, Salim appeared to reveal that the later episodes in the entire story of the series was being put together as they released the first episode. And I think as we're editing, we're still finding the story. We were finding the story on episode 6 up until episode 1 had already aired. He added, that's part of the beauty of it, is that Marvel just keeps hunting it down and using the resources they have to come up with the best story possible. And that quest never ends. Oh my God. I can never decide whether these people are just liars or they just are deluded or they just have to say it. It's a hostage video. They just have to say it. Elsewhere throughout the interview, Salim punted on numerous questions about story decisions, noting much of that above him and his main role was directing the episodes rather than making major story decisions that affect the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For example, when he was asked about Maria Hill's death, he said, Why she's killed is another question for the MCU. I just did the best I could, making it feel truthful and emotional. And I am grateful that I have not yet received death threats for killing off Maria Hill. Oh, geez. I think you have a higher opinion of yourself, sir, than that is warranted. I mean, death threats or killing off Maria Hill. How about having it have a meaningful purpose in the plot? I mean, I'm not gonna like lose any sleep over Maria Hill being summarily killed off, but for God's sake, like there was no reason. How about just having a reason for it? That's all. Oh, you're killing me. I swear, ad blocker next time. Captain's honor. When asked about how the series might tie into the Marvels, he said, my participation in that was to make sure that Nick Fury goes up at the end of the series. So I made sure that he went up. And it's like listening to a child. It's like listening to a child speak. Well, I was supposed to make sure Nick Fury goes up at the end of the series. So I made sure that he went up. And where they capture him in the next is up to them. Similarly, when asked if he specifically knew how long James Rhodes had been a Skrull, Salim answered, no. Oh, these are geniuses at work, my sailors and Stardust. These are geniuses at work. Oh my God. This is a writer? Do you know, Mr. Writer, when the Skrull replaced Colonel Rhodes? No. They have no respect for the audience. They really don't. They wipe their ass with the audience. They don't care. He's like, oh, I think that's a question for the MCU at large, probably for Kevin Feige himself. This is either like like true losers at work here, or this is people who are phoning it in because they work for a shitty boss and all they need to do is shovel the shit so they can go home. It's one of those two things, is my opinion of these writers. Look, he knows this is a bad answer. Look, it's his job. Look, don't ask me, lady. Oh, gee, when was Rhodey replaces? Look, lady, look, I got a job to do. Okay, I pick up the garbage. I put the garbage in the dumpster. That's my job here. Okay, I don't ask questions. Okay. I know, but what I'm saying is, was Rhodey a Skrull in Iron Man 2? Look, lady, listen to me. That ain't a question for me. Go ask Kevin. I just pick up the garbage, okay? That's all these answers are. He added, what was presented to me was a lot of fun, and I think we had a lot of fun out of it. But for those definitive answers, I prefer the term answers. Like I just prefer the term knowing what your story is. I defer to Kevin Feige, or I defer to the fans. What? What? Oh, now you defer to the fans, do you? Oh my God. Now I just feel so appreciated and loved. What kind of answer is this? BS. Are you shitting me with this? So this is a writer who is basically saying, well, for questions that I did not answer in the plot, I defer to the audience. I defer to the audience. No, listen to me, audience. It's not my job to tell you what happened in the story. That's your job. You're the one that came to watch the show. You answer the question. This is at least ChatGPT would answer the question. Hey, ChatGPT, when was Colonel Rhodes a Skrull? ChatGPT would give you an answer. It would. ChatGPT, why? Well, that would be the question, and it would answer it. So I will move off that point. In fact, when he was asked if he had a favorite episode or a scene that he was most proud of, he answered, I'm proud of the whole damn thing. Dude, that's a hostage answer if I've ever heard one. I am proud of the whole damn thing. The whole 6 hours. I am proud that I've survived. I am proud that people are enjoying it, because definitely that is a thing which is happening. I love the scale and scope of it. The fact that I got to work on cars flipping over and explosions. Flip page. But ultimately, for me, it boils down to the emotional truth that's passing between the two characters. The electricity passing between the two characters. End of line, begin next sentence. And so Don and Sam in the bar when Rhodey fires Fury. I love that. That is a thing I love. Olivia Colman and Sam Jackson in the library in episode 1. I love that. He continued, so I'm not going to come up with the exciting scenes for you, but the scenes that really move me are the ones where it's two people talking and finding a truth. Amelia Clark and Sam Jackson in episode 5 talking about Talos' death and where to bury him. I just love those moments. Oh my God. Oh, that reminds me, Gaia. It's like Gaia is the most I'm repeating myself at this point because every female character they do this with is boring. Echo, Bo-Katan, the blacksmith in The Mandalorian, and then you have Gaia here. It's like they are boring. They don't have a journey. They don't have anything. It's like the show seems to think she's a protagonist. She's not. She doesn't have a journey. Her character is completely inconsistent the entire damn thing. And then I have to watch these long, drawn-out scenes between her and Nick Fury's Skrull wife talking about, burying her father. It's like, and you know what Marvel has become? I'm going to explain exactly what Marvel's become. This is what it has turned into. It's a chick show. It is a chick's melodrama. That's what they've turned it into. And I have one more thing to say. Women are the new noble savage of our society. Have you ever heard this concept before, the noble savage? Right? This is like essentially settlers back in the day and also like just people looking back on Native Americans. They think of them in this kind of admiring light, sort of like how James Cameron does with Avatar, just thinks of them in this angelic light. They were at one with the land and they were proud warriors whose lands were taken from them. And so this kind of, if you want to say, kind of condescending way of looking back at Native American culture and viewing them in this angelic, putting them on a pedestal. It's what they call the noble savage. It's like you're thinking of them as the noble savage. And that is how a lot of colonials in those days thought of them. They admired their warlike culture and they idealized them, romanticized them. And so now what we have is Barbie and the MCU and the Force is female. It's like basically every show exists now for women to vent about all the things they don't have, all the things they want that they can't have, all of their depression and their confusion and their suicidal thoughts. They feel so much pressure all the time. Why does everyone demand so much of them? And then they want the story to be about how men have to learn to just leave them the hell alone, let them live their lives and be career women, but also know when to open the door for them and know when to take good care of them and also to get the fuck away from them. And that women need to unlock all their potential and that girls need to be inspired and feel represented. I'm like, they have turned themselves into the noble savage of our society. To put the camera on me for a second. Women are the noble savage of modern society. They are idealized. They are romanticized. Every movie now is about them and their complaints and their oppression and their gripes with everything. Everything is a lecture. And I'm like, dude, like, who cares? I don't care. I don't care how sad you are that, women couldn't vote 100 years ago. Get me a violin. Get me a freaking violin. I just, and I'm thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. Because they have turned themselves into a stereotype. So anyway. Yes, women are the noble savage of society. Do you need any more proof than this? Yeah, I could think of no better justification for my point. It's like Star Fury says, intriguing idea. I know. I happened upon it as I was watching Secret Invasion. I was like, God, I'm just listening to all this whining. It's like, but it's this romanticized story. It's this story that they're telling themselves about the patriarchy and all this shit. And it's like, and it's the fetishization of womanhood also, but don't think for a second that the trans movement does not factor into this. It's the fetishization, if that's a word. Fetishization, yeah, fetishization of womanhood in our society. This obsession we have with women as perfect, women as romanticized, but also flawed, and also allowed to fail, but never failing, and always succeeding, and always being powerful and extraordinary. But also, it's okay to be vulnerable and to be sad sometimes, and to need a man, but to never need a man, and to never have to. What do you want? What do you want from us? It's all I'm asking, for God's sake. Anyway, what was I saying? Here we are. So this director, he's just basically saying, people, look, somewhere in here, he admits they cobbled it together on the fly. It's just, all right, I've had enough of this article. Who cares? Who cares? Of course you did. You wrote this like on the set. I am convinced. Star Fury says, women also couldn't be drafted 100 years ago. Voting conferred not only a right, but also requirements. I wonder how women got the vote without the draft. They sure lucked out on that one. Look, and this is the funny thing, too. It's like, I have no problem with that inequality in society. I don't think women should have to apply for the draft. I don't think women should be drafted for war. It doesn't make sense. I feel that it would be frankly, I don't think conscription really is the right. Conscription should not be used by the state for any society because it ultimately becomes a tool of oppression. However, I'm not an absolutist on that point because I recognize that desperate times call for desperate measures. That being said, at no point would I ever be in favor of the draft for women. That is unequal. That means that death by war unequally favors men. Men are more likely to be conscripted into war and die a bloody, horrific death, or to be captured as a POW and starved or tortured to death. That is a risk which men in our civilized Western society are accepting a greater burden of, and I am 100% okay with that. It's unequal. It may not even be fair, and I don't care. It makes sense for society. Neither do I think women should be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen unless they want to be. Women should have, look, this is the gaslighting, right? The gaslighting is, oh, you don't like Barbie? You don't like listening to women whine about all their problems for 2 hours? Well, you must just want to control women's bodies and put them in the kitchen and make them slaves. And it's like, why is it not possible that I could find this movie nauseating and boring and frankly quite whiny and pathetic while also believing that women have reasonable grievances for past problems and also just things they deal with? Yeah, we all have things we deal with, certainly. And that there can be an entertaining movie about those issues, and that women should have control over their lives and should be able to do whatever they want to do. I believe in liberty. I believe in equality of opportunity, which means any human being on this planet is born with the right to determine the course of their own life. That is true of men. That is true of women. And if you have that as your guiding principle in life, you don't need to whine about all this bullshit, because everything else will simply take care of itself. If your guiding principle is that all people are equal by right, by birthright, then it becomes really quite simple after that point. Injustices become obvious at that point because they stand out, because you simply recognize them when you see them and you think, gee, well, that's not fair. No woman should ever have to live in fear of a crazy ex-boyfriend. No woman should have to go through that. No man should be made to feel like he is useless and not useful to society because a woman considers him undateable. Two things can be true at once, people. Every human being needs love, affection, and kindness. Every human being needs to have autonomy and self-determination. Two things can be true at once. Is my point. So there you have it. Now, that I would be remiss if I did not share something very important to me, which is this is the 24th episode of the Captain's Cast here on the Swords and Starships channel with me, your host, Captain Garrett. Please do like and subscribe. And if you are watching the stream in any capacity, you have my undying gratitude. And I'm deeply grateful. And, 24 is a very momentous number because it is also the title of one of my favorite all-time series, 24, which was about Jack Bauer, a federal agent in the post 9/11 era fighting terrorism. And, and look, was it a tad jingoistic? It was the post 9/11 years, so we deserve a little forgiveness. But I will say this, it was smart. It was so smartly written. The concept was very simple. Every episode is 1 hour in the same 24-hour day. And even the commercial breaks were taken into account. Like during the commercials, time was still passing in the show. It was usually that Jack Bauer was driving the car or something like that. And what was great about it was there was complexity to the plot. There was, there were traitors, there were moles backstabbing each other. But also it was very grounded. There was this gritty realism to it. Like most action TV shows at that time had very stylized, typical action movie kind of gunfights and stuff like that, Dirty Harry kind of stuff. This was the first TV show that portrayed like real military tactics, like a federal agent. When Jack Bauer was in a gunfight, it felt real. It felt like he had to use cover effectively. He had to, the weapons that he was using mattered. The tactics he was using mattered. And it was cool. It was like counterterrorism, but also there was an emotional core to every season. Kiefer Sutherland as this character was absolutely brilliant. He added so much emotionality and depth to this character. And it was really the concept of like Jack Bauer is a superhero. And like every superhero, he has a curse. And Jack Bauer's curse is that he cannot look away when something bad is about to happen. And unfortunately, he's going to have to do bad things to bad people to stop the bomb from going off. It's a ticking time bomb show, which is what makes it so great. And so you would get these episodes that would take 3 or 4 episodes to kind of build, and then something spectacular would happen. And it was like, the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. It would be just something you weren't expecting, and it would be so delightful. And they would find these ways to have Jack Bauer in these impossible situations. Like one of my favorites was in season 5, a bunch of terrorists take over, I believe it was Van Nuys Airport. They take over Van Nuys Airport in the LA area, and they've taken all the people in the terminal hostage. But what they don't know is that Jack Bauer has climbed into the air ducts and is there. He's kind of trapped. He can't get out and he can't reveal himself, but he does have a cell phone. And so he's communicating to the counterterrorism unit his situation, and he's kind of serving as their eyes and ears on the situation. And then the terrorists figure this out, and they start threatening to shoot a hostage until he comes out. And it's riveting. It's just brilliant, right? You're like, how's he going to get out of this? And then anyway. So this show was excellent. And there was another character in the show in the first 4 seasons that made it just as magnificent. And that was President David Palmer, played by Dennis Haysbert. And so you kind of had this kind of buddy cop situation going on where one half of the story was Dennis Haysbert's President Palmer. And he was so presidential, and he was always like making the hard decisions as a president, but always he had kind of the deep state types are always trying to talk him into just letting Jack Bauer be hung out to dry. But President Palmer owes him his life, and so he's always trying to like help Jack. Meanwhile, you've got Jack as the man in the trenches. He's trying to stop the bomb, but he needs the president's authorization for this or that. And so this kind of friendship begins to form over the course of the show between Jack and David Palmer, the president and essentially his best soldier, right? Jack has literally saved Palmer from assassination. Palmer has saved Jack from being betrayed and captured by the enemy. He's been presidentially pardoned once or twice. Let's face it, probably twice. And so this friendship has formed between the two men. And at the end of season 4, Jack Bauer is forced, spoilers, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to spoil a little bit of season 4 for you. Jack Bauer has to invade a Chinese consulate in order to get the bad guy to stop the bad thing from happening. And this means he's now an enemy of the Chinese people. And so Palmer helps him fake his death so he can escape being captured and tormented by the Chinese. And so these are the final moments of the 24th episode of season 4, which was my favorite moment in the entire series. And so in honor of the Captain's Cast 24th episode, here is my favorite moment ever of 24. And to set this up, Jack Bauer has to go into hiding from the Chinese. He cannot be known to be alive by anyone but his closest friends. And he has done this to save Los Angeles from being nuked by a thermonuclear weapon. He saved the day. He saved millions of lives. But unfortunately, it has come at the cost of him never getting to speak to his daughter again in order to protect him and her safety.
Mr. President, it's Jack Bauer.
You threaded the eye of the needle.
I had some help, sir. I wanted to thank you for advising me of this situation. Mr. President, you saved my life.
I'm only sorry it came to this.
Me too, sir. I just want to let you know that I was out.
I'm glad. This is probably the last time we'll ever speak. Jack, you do understand when you hang up, for all intents and purposes, Jack Bauer's dead.
I understand that, sir. Mr. President, it's been an honor.
Same for me, my friend.
All right. Hopefully I didn't get blocked there. Anyhow, there you have it. 24. Probably get demonetized for that. Who cares? I do it for the fun anyway. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Off into the sunset I go. So yes, I love 24. It's one of the greatest shows ever. I wish there could be another show like it, but there can't. Dude, that show could never be made now. They could never make that show again. And that was back in the days when people just weren't even talking about all this woke bullshit. Yes, of course, the wacko leftists were still out there, but like nobody was talking about the fact that, oh, it's a black president. Nobody cared. It just, this is before Barack Obama, by the way. Nobody cared. I didn't care. All we cared about was that's President Palmer. That's Jack Bauer. Like, it was just cool. So anyway, I miss those days. Yes, I do. But do you think, my dear friends, that Disney is going to change? Do you think that they have mended their ways after Secret Invasion's total collapse? Well, let me share this headline from Bounding into Comics. Star Fury says, how dare you discuss that toxic male hero? Well, in Jack Bauer's case, I mean, he tortured a lot of dudes. I might have a little forgiveness for that argument with Jack Bauer. Also saved millions of people from nuclear incineration. So, highs and lows. Highs and lows. What do I have here? Oh, yes, there we go. This from Bounty into Comics. Rumor, Disney culture won't change because employees are silenced. Executives think they're too big to fail. Company has suffered massive brain drain. See, this definitely goes in the column of my theory that there's two possibilities. One, these people are really dumb, and this would seem to support that. Like, they are hiring dumb writers. Oh, man, these ads are absolutely killing me here. They're hiring truly dumb people to write these things, or these people just can't even stand to come to work, and they're like just going through the motions. So a new rumor claims that the Walt Disney Company will not see their fortunes change. The rumor comes from Scooper WDW Pro, who read an email from one of his sources and noted the information provided by the source was corroborated by two other anonymous sources. That's a lot of sources. He noted the sources very, very highly connected to the industry, very high. That sounds like a very Trump thing to say. He's very, very connected to the industry, very high. Big league. Big league. WDW Pro begins the email. Disney is in trouble because sports and parks can no longer finance the losses being incurred elsewhere. Delay of game. Disney Plus, all the studios lost licensing revenue, etc. ESPN, I'm just going to stop the screen share because I just don't want you to get a seizure, okay? Or maybe I'll just do that. There we go. After noting Disney's cruise line division is also losing money, WDW Pro continued. Again, you think they would rapidly cut back on the damaging stuff, make peace with Florida, but that's not really happening, and it's unlikely to change. The people that I know tell me that so much of the rank and file are totally oblivious to the impact the agenda and other DEI stuff has had. It's everything except that's causing the downfall, according to those. It's everything except that's causing the downfall, according to those people who work at the highest levels of Disney. So according to this rumor, this is a source in Disney who's basically saying, like, look, they are panicking because everything is failing. Everything is burning, and they blame everything except diversity, equity, and inclusion. So in other words, it's the one thing that's causing all of it the most. More than anything else, it's the one thing that's causing it. They can't even see it. They have absolutely no awareness of it. Can you imagine that? Well, that just should show you that, like, woke thinking, that is far wacko leftist thinking. There was another YouTuber recently he was replying to one of his reply guys who was saying, this guy can't even define wokeness. And then the YouTuber said, yes, I can. It's communism. Wokeness is communism. Moving on. Woke, communist, wacko leftist, if you like, whatever, pick your poison. They do not use fact-based thinking, which is why they're incapable of learning from evidence. Evidence cannot teach these people anything. It can't teach them anything. McCormick, thanks, Silverback. I appreciate that. McCormick wrote the Cormac McCarthy. That was his name that wrote The Road. Thank you for that. Your captain will allow that. Your captain will allow it. Now, seriously, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Chat, thanks for having my back. These people can't learn from evidence because their worldview is not based on evidence. I cannot think of any better evidence for that. The source's email then asserts a research subcontractor I know spoke to some brand people over at Disney. And the problem here is that you can't say out loud the drain has come in part because of the DEI, the agenda, the woke stuff that the company has done. You're not allowed to say it. If you say it, you will be let go. You will be silenced. You will be punished. You will be ostracized and put to the side. Communism. Dude, that is Orwellian. Honest to God, as I'm reading this, that honestly is chilling. That actually is, it's creepy to even think about this. But like, if you are at Disney and you even say, hey, everybody, listen, could it maybe be that our political agenda and some of this putting our agenda in things and really just driving all this diversity and representation, is it possible? I mean, I'm with it. I agree with all of it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. But could it be that some people don't like fired? Get out. Dude, can you even imagine living in that hell? Oh my God. And the source goes on, and if you can't openly talk about the real problems, how can you hope to fix them? The board is a problem. Iger is a problem. Key division heads are a problem. Oh my God. Oh my God. Disney would be the worst corporate hell. Because I have worked in corporate hell. This would be worse than any hell I've ever been in. I can tell you that much. This would be a nightmare. No wonder Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are right. It is phone it in. It is work from home writing on The Mandalorian, because it's like, what else could you do in a company like this? What else could you do? Dude, it's so demoralizing. It's like there is, a lot of people that are at a company, maybe it's not the best company in the world, maybe it's not that, but I'll tell you something. A little bit of making people feel heard and like giving them the ability to like be appreciated for their work, giving them a sense of vision, a clear sense of direction where they're going. You would be amazed how even in a shitty company, you would be amazed how far that goes with people. Just giving people hope that things might get better, hope that they are appreciated. That alone makes a big difference for people who are even relatively unhappy in their job. If you are at a company where you can't even say how unhappy you are, my God, you can't even say what's wrong in the company, dude, fuck Disney. Fuck this company. It is rotten to the core. These are garbage people running this company. These are garbage human beings, Bob Iger. That man turns my stomach. I am not capable of holding down food while I'm listening to Bob Iger speak. In fact, I sort of agree with old Ronnie Perlman on Bob Iger.
One thing before I get off this. The mother who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me, mother. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial. Some of it is karma. And some of it is just figuring out who the said that. And we know who said that. And where he lives. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. You wish that on people. You wish that families starve while you're making $27 million a year for creating nothing. Be careful, mother. Be really careful. Because that's the kind of that stirs up.
Be careful, motherfucker. Be careful. You think, huh? You're making $27 million for doing nothing? Nothing, huh? Huh? You be real careful. You be real careful. Bob, you know what, Rod? You and I agree on this. Bob Iger needs to be real careful. Real careful. He's a Twitter warrior, is Ron over there. Just, what a nightmare. I think, these people could just eat each other. The frickin' actors, the film actors guild out there, and the writers. Yeah, we want more money. Stop using AI. That's our tool. We use that. And it's like, you could just eat each other. You could all just live in the hell you've made. Well, who said this? Okay, I just saw a quote here. Okay, so the source went on to say, those geeks and gamers guys are funny when they fly off the handle about Kathleen Kennedy still having her job and perhaps having some dirt on half of Hollywood. But even if they promote her out of Lucasfilm by now, she's wrecked everything under their purview. She's wrecked everything. Acolyte, Rey movies. What? All they have is a thin stand of Filoni Star Wars. And if the upcoming shows fail, their plan B after Rey is done. The email continued. You know something? It's not just management and creative's ideation. Oh, no, no, no. They've actually lost a lot of technical and creative story ability. Forget the woke for a moment. The Little Mermaid was dark, badly edited, poorly paced, awful music. They've lost key Imagineers, broken key links to past talent in that regard. The brain drain is real. The source went on to say, what I mean is, even if they wanted to tell a good story, one that fails its standalone DEI test, I don't know if they could actually make it properly and for a reasonable cost. If you really want to see core Disney wreckage, don't look to Lucasfilm or Marvel. Instead, sit back and feast your eyes on the recent Pinocchio, Peter Pan, and Little Mermaid, and then watch the 3 originals. And remember, you are not allowed to say what is causing these properties to fail inside Disney. That is where free speech goes to die. Wow. Now, is that the opinion or is that the source? He's saying the source said those things. So anyway, later in the video, WDW Pro shared information he received from another source that explained why Disney thinks they do not need to change their behavior. The boycott avoidance of Bud Light in a consumer backlash movement is based on the fact that the product itself is indistinguishable from its main competitors, Miller Lite and Coors Light, in blinds and all available at the same distribution points, virtually side by side at retail with similar identical prices under normal circumstances. You know, they always underestimate their customers because, yes, shitty beer is shitty beer, but I'm telling you, people who like Bud Light or like Miller Lite, they do not cross the streams. Like Miller Lite drinkers do not want to drink Bud Light. Bud Light drinkers do not want to drink Miller. Coors Light drinkers have no use for Keystone. It just is what it is. Like, so they're all shitty beers, but hey, it may be a shitty beer, but it's my shitty beer. So the fact that they are underestimating that element of like, no, people gave up their favorite shitty beer and chose a different shitty beer. They think that's nothing. Because all they can see is, well, the data shows in blind studies. God, these people are morons. Wrangler with $4.20 super chat says nothing. Says nothing. Just a super chat for $4.20. Well, thank you, Wrangler. A salute from the captain, sir. Very much appreciated. And Star Fury says, how did a weatherman at ABC become the head of Disney? Wrangler says, I have to go. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Captain, for another voyage. Well, you are welcome, sir. Permission to disembark granted. So, how does a weatherman become the... well, you fail upwards in corporate America. Dude, I'm telling you right now, I have seen very talented people who fixed major problems in a company fired because, like, low-talent liars threw them under the bus for things that were not their fault. And I'm telling you, those low talent liars are better often at the political game because they don't care about their people. Their people are miserable. They don't give a shit. They'll just fire them. They don't care. But the people that do care, servant leaders who actually take care of their people, well, they actually have to put their neck out to get things done. So you know, it's a disadvantage. Now, I'm not complaining. The good will always have that disadvantage over the bad because they will fight dirty. But the good have another advantage, which is they use power and not force. You know, shitheads like Bob Iger, all they have is data. All they have is numbers. All they have is force. Shut the fuck up and write the script. And if I hear anything about diversity, equity, inclusion, about why things are failing, you're fired. Now go make this thing succeed. Well, they will get the person to go to work. But what they will not get is success. And that is the difference between, but I'm telling you, you can climb very high in a corporation by being a lying psychopath. You really can. In other words, which I should say really is to say that if you are leading a company, you have got to know your people. You have got to know your vision. You've got to know your values. You've got to know what you stand for, because if you don't, these people will find their way into your company and they will screw you. They will stab you right in the back. And you know, so And I guarantee you, I feel like a guy like Eric July is going to have zero problems with that, because Eric July knows exactly who he is. He knows what he's about. He knows his mission, his vision, his values. Obviously there will be growing pains, I'm sure. He's probably never run a business this huge. He's made multiple $1 million in 2 years. But I guarantee you it's not going to be a problem for him, because he knows the course he's charting. And, with people that are running a company and they don't know that, they are very vulnerable to psychopaths secreting themselves into their organization and telling them what they want to hear. Firing the good people while everything else is going to shit and they're covering it up. WDW Pro concluded, Disney, on the other hand, avoiding Disney is a major inconvenience, and so perhaps the folks at the Walt Disney Company assume consumers will be too burdened by trying to boycott them, and therefore they're not worried about it. I don't think it's necessary to boycott Disney. They are driving people away. They're releasing shit that nobody wants to watch. Like, there's no reason to boycott them. People are just going away. They're just going away. Secret Invasion is the best example of this, I can tell you, because I'm telling you right now, I watched the Secret Invasion. It's garbage. It's awful. The videos get no traction. Nobody cares. Like, nobody cares. Only I seem to care about it, to be quite honest with you. A lot of people just, like, they're so checked out. Like, a year ago, She-Hulk videos were just blowing it up. She-Hulk was all anyone could talk about. Now, nobody cares. Nobody cares about Nick Fury. I don't even think they're going to care that much about the Marvels. I think at this point, MCU is dead. Like, it is rotting, dead as a doornail, dead. Like, it is, they are just, in fact, I would say that Secret Invasion is very much like they're sleepwalking. It's like it's a sleepwalking script. It's just going through the motions. And what's incredible to me is there's some brilliant visual shots. There's some cinematography, some editing that's not bad. And I'm thinking to myself, what a waste. What an absolute waste. Any creativity that went into this show is going into an absolute black hole. It's very sad. Very sad. Sad, very sad. All right. What should we close it out with? How about some good news? You guys want some good news? Here we go. Here we go. Everybody loves some good news on a Sunday night. This from World of Real. Blue Beetle is a bomb, is projected to earn $12 to $17 million the opening weekend. Superhero movies might be at an influx point, bombing left and right these days, and it's a wonderful sight to see. The catastrophe that is Warner Brothers DC collaboration may take yet another bad turn next month. What is Blue Beetle? Not sure. I'm not well versed when it comes to comic book characters, but Warner had enough confidence to greenlight this bad boy with a $120 million budget. Here comes the bad news. The movie will need to overperform. Oh, sorry, I skipped a part. Here comes the bad news. Early tracking via boxofficepro.com has the film earning $12 to $17 million in its opening weekend. Oh my God. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was like, what was it, like 60 million, and it was a total failure? With a total domestic gross of just 27 to 55 million. Wow. Folks, that qualifies as a full-blown catastrophe. That is humiliation. Can you imagine the number of defeats that these filmmakers have had? We have had, I'm not kidding. It's been the last 7 superhero films in a row, minimum, have been failures. The movie will need to overperform internationally to avoid the gloomy fate of the last 3 DC superhero flicks. Shazam 2, The Flash, Black Adam. 3 in a row for DC. They are throwing good money after bad. What an absolute disaster. And over at Disney, this would be zero evidence to them that their diversity, equity, and inclusion is causing the problem. Think of that. I mean, think of that. This news to Bob Iger. This news with related to a Disney film would be not taken as any evidence that the wokeness is not working. That is staggering to me. That is a stunning thought. I can't even. I just am like, wow. And you know, it's been said on like Midnight's Edge in the morning. It's been said on Friday Night Tights. It's been said on so many channels. These companies, they hate making money. Like Disney hates making money. They are lighting it on fire. And this rumor, if true, it's proof that they don't even understand why it is verboten to even float the idea that the wokeness might be dragging them down, which means, folks, we are in for a few more dumpster fires. Pull up a chair. We are going to be roasting marshmallows over the continued flames of Disney burning, because you heard it from that source yourself. They are incapable of understanding the reason for their failure, which means it will continue. And so, my dear sailors and starnauts, I say thank you for listening to this Captain's Cast. Thank you for joining me on this voyage on our vessel, our continuing mission to explore science fiction, fantasy, and historical worlds. And to defend our culture, we shall never surrender. And so that is where I shall leave you on this, the 24th episode of the Captain's Cast. And I even risked a copyright block showing you some Jack Bauer. Hopefully you got to see it all. And never forget what the MCU has become. And so until next time, I say to you, my dear sailors and starnauts, I will see you. Tom says bye all, goodbye. I will see you out there. Press play. What is it? Oh, is it? Okay, let me try that again. Is this what I press?